And can you hear me? I actually mean that. I can hear me, so that means you must be able to hear me. My name is Steve Stauning. We'll get to my bio in a second. I just want a couple housekeeping things. One, our plan is not to take a break. Our plan is to go straight through till noon. But we're all going to need a bio break in there. Please, if you do, just get up. Go. The back is the easiest bathroom to get to. We would like to take a break, but a dealer group this size will give you 9 minutes. What percent will come back in 9 minutes? Yeah, 2 or 3%, right? And then we'll be out there trying to get all you back, because we're all trying to sell cars. That said, I do want you to sell cars. Part of my job is helping dealers sell more cars. As Dan said, this, or alluded to, this session kind of came from the Gulf States region. Gulf States Toyota came to me last year and wanted help in doing exactly what we're talking about today, converting more of their leads into sales. Their struggle was they were sort of treading water on market share side of the business, and they felt that the greatest opportunity, the lowest hanging fruit, was their internet leads. And while we found that to be true, what we actually put together was this entire thing called an appointment culture. Now, there's a reason it's called an appointment culture and not an appointment program or strategy. And that's because, in the words of Peter Drucker, your culture eats strategy for breakfast. It really will. This is a cultural change in the dealership. You have to be ready to change things across the board, because I'll go to my bio here real quick, right there. The part of my bio that's not up there is when I started selling cars. I got out of the Marine Corps in 1985. My first job in college was selling cars. I got exactly 10 minutes of training. I hear we're up to 20 minutes on average nationwide, so that's good. We've doubled it. The first time I took trade paperwork up to the sales desk, the sales manager looked at it, kind of frowned, crumbled it up, threw it at me. It hit me in the forehead. It fell to the ground. And my prospects were at a table 10 feet away. And I say prospects because, of course, they didn't buy, right? The reason I tell you that story is our number one problem in 1985 was getting great people to work the sales floor. Our average sales teams across the country sold about, what, 8 cars per person. Where are we at today in America in car sales? We're about 8 cars per person. But we have this new thing called a mini. In 1985, if you got minis in back-to-back months, you had to go see the general manager. He wanted to know why you were giving away all the gross. I worked with a store in Houston recently that 60% of their deals are minis. Not 60% of their new car deals, but 60% of their overall deals are minis. And so the question comes up is, how can someone make a living at 8 cars a month if 60% of those deals are minis? And the answer is they can't. They cannot make it a career. And I'm not a doom and gloom guy. I'm not one of these guys that says in 5 years, you know, everybody's going to buy their cars online and dealerships are all going to be closed up. I think somebody made that prediction in 1997, didn't they? Remember that? 2002 came and went. We grew our dealerships. I believe we're going to have more dealerships in 5 years, 19,000 or so. The difference is, though, I think most of us are going to fall into one of two camps. We're either going to be the Walmart of car dealers, right? The low cost of goods provider, the one price store, if you will, and there's no shame in that. The owners of those dealerships are going to make great money. And then there's going to be the Ritz Carlton of car dealers, those dealers that provide an exceptional customer experience that consumers are willing to pay extra for, and those dealers will make great money. The difference between the two dealers is Walmart doesn't need commission salespeople, right? And also, Walmart doesn't need desk managers or F&I managers. And so for all of us in the room who started on the sales side of the business and grew, we needed those steps, didn't we? We needed to become a desk manager. We needed to become an F&I manager before we became, you know, the new car manager or GSM or GM or now an owner. And so it does say a lot about where our industry will be going if we kind of allow that to happen. So my goal today is for you to leave and say, you know what? I think we can be the Ritz Carlton of car dealers. And as Toyota dealers and Lexus dealers, you absolutely can. We've got dealers today doing what we call the perfect appointment that we're going to teach you today, where they get an 80% show rate on their appointments at show. They're closing 80% of those appointments that show. They're doing it month in, month out, but they're doing it at higher grosses and higher CSI. Let me back up. They're doing it at perfect CSI, higher grosses. People are taking first pencil, and then they're walking to the desk after they're done with the deal, and they're shaking any manager's hand who's there, and they're saying, this is the best car buying experience I ever had. The best car buying experience I've ever had. Think about it. The average new car dealer makes what, about 4% gross margin on front on new cars, right? And Tesla makes what? 25%, right? And Tesla is this consumer-friendly, if you will, brand, right, that strips out the middleman, if you will, to lower costs for consumers, right? Make it a better experience. It's not lowering anybody's costs. It's simply a better experience, and people will pay extra for that better experience. And that's what we're here to do today. I do have a deck prepared, and you have a copy of it in your materials if you want to keep notes right on that. But even though I have this deck prepared, this is a dialogue more than a monologue. Please stop me anytime for questions. And if there's something I say that you disagree with, and I hope there is, please stop me. Let's not move on with that disagreement in your mind, or you'll never buy in. Back to 1985 for a second. In 1985, I remember my sales manager coming to me and talking about this thing called appointments. You got to get appointments, kid. You got to get appointments. Come on, kid, you need appointments. And how did you get appointments? He walked in with the white pages, right? The white, some of you look too young. He walked in with Google, and he dumped Google on your desk, right? I still remember this day. He said, kid, you want to get appointments? Start making calls. And he started to walk away. He said, wait, but start with the B's, because we've beat the A's to death, right? And you open up the phone book, and sure enough, all the A pages were all crumbled and written on, and deadbeat, tire kicker. You get to the B's, and it was clean. These brand new pages. Nobody ever got that far. And I have to be honest with you, this was Phoenix, Arizona, so our white pages were about that big in 1985. I got to like Baker, right? And I gave up because they didn't want to hear from me. These weren't what we call money calls. Consumers don't want this follow-up program that we have today where we're calling them every 2 weeks after they bought a new car to touch base, right? They're getting a little sick of that. I'm telling you, as much as I help dealers sell cars, I also buy cars like a consumer. I want my dealership to call me every time it makes sense. Absolutely want them to call me every time it makes sense. What I don't want them to do is make non-money calls to me. There's got to be a whiff-em for me, what's in it for me, and a whiff-em for them to make those calls. So that's another class, and I have everybody has at least one copy of my business card, stevestauning.com. That's where my free training is at. I don't have anything to sell you. It's all online for free. There's a class on there that'll teach your team how to use the right talk tracks and to make every call a money call. Some of you have my other card. I underestimated just how many people would be here today. My other card is just my standard business card, but I can be contacted on either if you have questions after today. So when we talk about the appointment culture, I want you to think dentist for a moment. And I don't mean getting your teeth drilled. I mean, if I had a dentist appointment this morning at, say, 9:15, I would walk out of the back around 10 o'clock after getting my teeth cleaned. I'd walk up to the receptionist. She'd hand me a card like that. And she'd say, Steve, how does December 26th work, assuming they're open the day after Christmas? And she'd pick that day because it's exactly 6 months from today, right? And I'd look at my iPhone and run to my calendar like I have everything scheduled 6 months out. And I'd say, December 26th works great. She'd say, how about 9:15? I'd say, that's great. I'd write December 26th, 9:15 on this card, put the card in my pocket, go home, put it into my calendar. And even though I travel 3 weeks out of every month training dealers all across the country, there's a 90% chance I'm going to keep that appointment. There's a 90% chance I'm going to keep a $30 teeth cleaning appointment for 6 months from now, and a 100% chance that if I have to change that appointment, I'm going to call them as soon as I know and change it. Now, does anybody know why I'm going to keep that appointment? Any thoughts? Hard to get, absolutely. So it's important to me, right? If I try to cancel the day before, no problem, but now it's 6 weeks out, right? One other reason, and it isn't the reason I'm going to keep it, but it's the reason some people keep those appointments. My dentist charges $45 if you miss the appointment. So it's $30 copay if I keep the appointment, $45 if I miss. Now, I hope some of you are thinking, man, if we could charge people for missed appointments, right? Some of my salespeople would be rich. Wouldn't that be nice? We can't charge for missed appointments, unfortunately. But we can get to the level that the dentist is. I actually have dealers today who have a 100% appointment show ratio on the sales side of their business, except for people who call them in advance and tell them they can't make it, just like the dentist office. But I know some of you are thinking, Steve, that's the dentist. Dentists have the respect of the consumer. It's important to the consumer. So I'm going to keep an appointment for a $30 teeth cleaning 6 months from now, but some of us have a hard time getting people to keep an appointment for a $30,000 car 6 hours from now. And it's because we're not making it important to them the way the dentist has made that appointment important to me. Now, by the way, dentists didn't always work off an appointment culture. Some of you look like you're about my age, maybe a little older. In the early 70s, I remember my mom would put me and my 3 sisters in the back of the Dodge Dart. We'd drive to the dentist's office. She'd sit us in the waiting room. She'd go to the counter. She'd register us, just like most guys get haircuts today, right? You just sign up at the counter. And we'd sit and wait till the dentist could see us. And in the late 70s, early 80s, dentists started to become kind of smart, and they said, you know, if we can make people set and keep appointments, our business becomes more predictable, and we start to make more money. We're more efficient. Most of you are into an appointment culture on your service side of the business, I hope. I hope you've taken that appointment setting mentality away from and the duties away from your service advisors and put it into the hands of someone who's actually willing to set appointments that people will keep. But that said, let's not talk about dentists. Let's not talk about their appointments right now. Let's talk about our typical appointment. Someone calls me today, it's a woman, and she's interested in a 14 Camry. And I say, as we usually do in the car business, I say, when would you like to come in, right? Did you know when would you like to come in is not asking for the appointment? When would you like to come in is ceding control of the call to the caller, and it's saying three things that just aren't true. It's saying, I'm not important, my time's not valuable, and it doesn't matter when you come in. Come on in whenever you feel like it. Do you know why we say, when would you like to come in? It's because we're trying to be nice to the consumer, but in fact, we're not being nice to the consumer because we're not helping them buy a car. The other reason why we like to say, when would you like to come in, is do you know what the answer can never be to when would you like to come in? No. I never hear no. If they have no plans on buying from me and I say, when would you like to come in, it's a nice little cop-out for me. I let them lie to me. They say, I think I can be there Saturday. And I say, great, we open at 9, be sure and ask for me, and I hang up the phone, right? I let them lie to me, then I run to the CRM and I lie to my boss. I got a 9:15 with Barbara Jones, right, Saturday morning. She's not showing. So she calls, this woman named Barbara Jones calls, and I say, when would you like to come in? And she says, you know, my daughter's got soccer practice tonight till 5. I think I can be there at 5:15. And I say, great, my name's Steve Stauning, be sure and ask for me, we'll see you at 5:15. I hang up the phone. At 4:30, the coach comes to the moms and dads there at soccer, and he says, ladies and gentlemen, we're actually going to be here until 6 instead of 5. We've got the field for an extra hour. What happens to her appointment with me at 5:15? Anybody? I just see people shaking their head, right? Thank you for being honest. When I do this training for salespeople, you'll always have one guy in the crowd goes, she calls and reschedules. Really? What dealership do you work at? She doesn't call and reschedule. She blows it off. A $30,000 car purchase that she's going to make once in 3 years goes away. She hit one speed bump in her life, being at soccer practice instead of till 5, till 6. Why doesn't she come up at 6:15? Why doesn't she call reschedule to 6:15? Because it's not that important to her. Because I said, when would you like to come in? There's no sense of urgency. She doesn't know I'm doing anything to prepare for the appointment. She doesn't think anything of it. But let's change her appointment. It's not with me. It's not with the dentist. Her appointment, and ladies, this is not misogynistic, her appointment is at 5:15 to get her nails done at one of those stinky places in the mall. We have those in California, right? The ones where you feel sorry for the workers. You know that little paper mask is not going to stop that toxic, well, whatever. Women who get their nails done on a regular basis get them done about once every 2 weeks. Means over the course of 3 years, they're going to get their nails done 75 times. And where I come, I live in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, far north Idaho. It's about $45 to get a full set of nails. Is that what it is in California? About, ladies? No, more? Okay. So it's more than $45. I'm going to get it done 75 times over 3 years. Now, her appointment for 5:15 is to get her nails done. Coach comes to the moms and dads at 4:30. He says, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be here till 6 o'clock. We got the field for an extra hour. Does anybody know what happens to her nail appointment at 5:15? Who said she goes? Raise your hand. You're right. And it's a guy that's, and yeah, of course, the lady said she goes. The guy raised it. Normally, guys will say she calls and reschedules. And then I'll turn to one of the ladies, they'll go, no, she goes. And guys will say, well, what do you mean she goes? Well, she turns to the other moms and she says, ladies, I've got a nail appointment at 5. She didn't get the words out. You go, girl. Get. They'll take her daughter home. Someone will. If that can't happen, she'll call the husband. Honey, you've got to pick up our daughter at 6:15. I've got a nail appointment. And if he can't do that and none of the moms can take her daughter home, she will walk to the coach at 5 o'clock. She'll say, Coach, I apologize. We have a family emergency. We've got to go. Because it's important to her. But how is that? She's going to buy one car in 3 years, but she's going to get her nails done 75 times over 3 years. But all day long, she's been thinking about the smells of the place, right? She's been thinking about the colors she's going to choose, and she's been thinking, more importantly, about what her friends are going to say when they see the new nails, right? Why doesn't she think that about our Camry, right? Why doesn't she think that about our ES? She should be. And we can make it that important to her. We can. And not just women, but men and everybody. We can make these appointments that important to them if we'll follow what we call the perfect appointment. So, any questions before we move forward? All right. So when we talk about the need for an appointment culture, a lot of it has to do with what's happening online. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. 94% of consumers are online during their vehicle search, and your brand skews even higher. And your markets, California markets, skew even higher than that. So let's just all agree. Everybody's online before they ever come into the dealership. We also know that they're doing 19 hours of research before they walk onto your lot, and that they're looking at 18.2 sources of information. Now, no offense, that means some of them know more about your cars than some of the people on your team. And most of them know more about your competitors' cars than most of the people on your team. Again, no offense. This is all they've been doing. For the last 2 weeks, they've been cramming for 19 hours for this purchase time. Now, I don't want to change your traditional road to the sale, but I do want to change your appointment road to the sale. With this, 83% of shoppers say they know what they want before they walk on your lot. Why wouldn't they? They've done 19 hours of research. And what I mean by I don't want to change your appointment road to the, or your traditional road to sales, keep selling the way you are, please. Now, I would cut back on some of the road to the sale questions, right? If someone's looking at a Camry, I wouldn't say, what is it you like about the Camry? Is it the body style or the pricing? Gee, I never thought of that. Have you considered any other brands? Oh, you know what, I hadn't, right? We send them back, we get them thinking, and they go home. But as far as appointments go, I want you to assume the sale. If someone has an appointment on a 14 Camry, a 14 ES, whatever, they've bought the car. They've bought the car until they've told you differently. And we'll take you through those steps when we do the perfect appointment. Now, another reason why we need to move to an appointment culture, not just on the internet side of the business, but store-wide, is this. And again, your brand skews even higher. 87% of new car owners say they're likely to buy the same brand again. The problem is, once they catch new car fever, only 56% end up as repeat purchasers. And so I know a lot of you are doing equity mining, but it has to go further than that. You've got to go into your database and call that guy who bought a Tundra in 2011, who paid cash. He's not going to show up necessarily when you do the equity mining because we're trying to keep people at the same payment. And you need to call him and you need to say, Mr. Jones, it's Steve Stauning calling from Century Toyota. This may sound a little weird, but my general manager wanted me to call you today. We actually have a buyer and an immediate need for your 2011 Tundra. Now, I don't know if you consider selling it or not, but I have 2 appraisal times open on Tundras this afternoon. I've got a 415 and a 445. Which one of those works better for you? I'm going to show you in a minute what high levels we can close that guy at if we can get him in. Right now, he's in that 87% likely to buy another Toyota, right? Once he catches new car fever, looks at 18.2 sources of information during his 19 hours of research, we may have lost him. But even though he's now 56% likely to buy a Toyota, is he guaranteed to come back to you? No way. And so we've got to make that happen. By the way, I'm not lying when I call him and say, my general manager wanted me to call you today, right? Any general managers in the room? Do you want your team to call? Yeah, you sure do. I have a buyer and an immediate need for your Tundra. Am I lying there? No, my buyer's my used car manager. And my immediate need is I got to sell a car, okay? Never going to lie on the phone to people. I'm just not going to do it. The final reason why we need this thing called an appointment culture is this deal called transparency, right? That's what's driving down our grosses today. Interestingly, though, it's not always doing that, right? Mostly we're driving down our grosses in this competition that we have with each other. So we have this thing called pricing transparency. Sites like TrueCar and Kelley Blue Book that are spending, between the two of them, over $100 million in television advertising this year to tell people not what they should pay for a vehicle, but what others paid. So I configured this Tundra. They told me, hey, Steve, don't pay above $34,099 for it. Assume you can take about $39.48 off of MSRP. I don't even have to get my certificate for that dealer and go to that dealer to buy it, by the way. How many of us get TrueCar certificates from other dealers, right? And they put them in front of us and they want us to match that price. All the value has been taken out of that vehicle at that point. All we can hope for is that they've got a trade, right? All we can hope for is that we can make some back-end money. With TrueCar, it's kind of funny. It's even worse than that. Now I don't have to go to TrueCar through their American Express portal or start at the USAA portal to get those prices. They give me one last chance and actually knock another $100 off that vehicle if I have an American Express card. Don't have to prove it, just click it. Now that becomes my idiot price, right? I'm an idiot if I pay above $33,999 for that Tundra. Actually worse than TrueCar is Kelley Blue Book now, no offense. That's where I actually first met Dan Maynard. Kelley Blue Book. I sat on the Kelley Blue Book Dealer Advisory Board for years, but back then, Kelley Blue Book was what we called a dealer-friendly number. In fact, I remember the first time a guy walked into our store in 1985 and said, "You're going to give me what this book says for my car." And we said, twist our arm. Okay, right? Darn. Here's what's happening now. At least with TrueCar, I had to register. I don't have to register with Kelley Blue Book. I just enter a zip code. So I entered a San Francisco area zip code. I think that's San Jose. And I configured a Camry LE, and they said, "Hey, Steve, a fair purchase price is somewhere between $21,250 and $22,143 with an invoice price of $21,736. So they're telling me already that $500 below invoice, that's a fair purchase price. And they showed me that 5 people got that price, right? They also showed me that there were 4 suckers who paid above a fair purchase price, right? Some knuckleheads who paid above MSRP. Look at that. On top of that, they showed me that there are 9 people in the last 30 days within 50 miles or within 100 miles of that zip code that got better than a fair purchase price. So if I see this during my 19 hours of research, where do I want to be? Want to be in the green? No, I don't want you to have a fair purchase price, do I? I want to be in the white. In fact, I want to set a new bar. Don't I, right? I'm no sucker. This becomes my idiot price down here, $20,234. I'm an idiot if I pay a dime above that. That's the problem. Now, the biggest problem with this data is that it's one data point. Is this everything that goes in the car deal? No. Did we make money on the people in the red? Probably, but I can't tell from that. Maybe they really dressed up their Camry, right? Maybe they put $10,000 in aftermarket accessories that we ate. Maybe we over-allowed on trade. I don't know. Maybe they paid cash and we over-allowed on trade and we lost money on the deal. Did we lose money on the 9 in the white? Probably, but probably not, right? There's no way to tell because we probably held back on trade, right? We probably had back-end money. That's the problem with the data and the alleged pricing transparency that's occurring today is it's not that transparent because it says nothing about the entire car deal. So our goal is to get people off of this, to get them away from price and onto experience, and we can do that. We can do that if we do our owner marketing and get people in before they catch new car fever, and we can do that when we respond correctly to the internet lead. See, there's this misnomer out there that the internet lead and the phone call, that those people want one thing. They want information. No, Steve, they want the lowest price. No, I'll tell you what they really want. All of those people do just want one thing. They want a salesman. Yes, sir. That's it. They want to be sold. They want somebody to pull them through the phone, drop them into the dealership, and sell them a car. They just don't want you to hurt them this time, right? They remember the last time, 3 years ago. It wasn't with you. You guys are all good. It was with that jerk up the street, right? And they don't want that to happen again. And they want a salesman. They're looking for someone to take them through the steps. And that's one of the things that the Perfect Appointment does is we take people through the steps. We're not about vomiting information all over a prospect. What we're about is pulling people through the phone, dropping them into the dealership and selling them a car. We're just not going to hurt them this time. All right, when you leave today, I want you to understand appointments are everything. The up bus is arriving less often. There are fewer people on it. So what's our plan? We're going to spend more on radio, TV, newspaper, right? Is that how we're going to do it? How about this? Your team is probably cherry picking and their pay plan probably encourages it. I'll give you a quick case in point. Every dealer I've worked with has either a 72-hour rule or a 7-day rule. I've never worked with a dealership that didn't have one of those two in place, and this is the rule. If you have meaningful back and forth, I should do meaningful in air quotes. If you have meaningful back and forth with someone within 72 hours of them showing up at the dealership and buying a car, and even if it's your day off, you're protected, you get half that deal. Now, and that meaningful back and forth has to be in the CRM. And so here's a case in point. I'm an internet salesperson with you. My day off is Wednesday. I make a call to someone on Monday. I talk to him. We go back and forth a little bit. He doesn't commit. He comes in on my day off and buys a car. I can go to the CRM on Thursday when I come in, find his name, see that he bought a car, raise my hand in your dealership and say, boss, I deserve half that deal. And your rule says I get it, right? That allows me to cherry pick. You know what that allows me to do? It allows me to just vomit price on people and hope they come in. And so we've got to remove those rules. We'll talk about what those rules will look like later. You know, there's an interesting way that people search online that we're not aware of. See, we think people go to autotrader.com with their 3 million cars and they pick one and they go, that's the car I want. It's not the car that's not how they do it. They narrow it down to 2 or 3 dealers, 2 or 3 vehicles. And then they call or connect with those dealers to try to find out just enough information to not have to come see your vehicle. And we make it easy for people to eliminate us by giving them all of the information about the vehicle. Once they know everything from us, they don't have to come in, right? I worked with a dealership recently that a consultant came in. Never trust consultants. A consultant had come in a year before and told them that when someone inquires on the internet and they say, what is your best price, that what they should do is print out a PDF worksheet with everything, payments, interest rate, everything, and email it to them. And I was mortified when I heard this. And I told the general manager, I said, you got to stop that right away. He said, no, Steve, we get lots of these back in the dealership. And I said, oh, can you define lots? And I couldn't. So we went back to last month, the prior month. And we looked at every worksheet they sent, and then we looked in the CRM and the DMS to try to match names, to find out who from that month had come in at any time in the last 60 days and purchased, or at least said, come in and said hello. 7% of the people who got those worksheets came back to the dealership. 93% said thank you very much and either took themselves out of the market, right? Have we ever presented numbers to people and the payment was too high and they wanted to leave? And we said, leave, come back when you have a better job, right? Oh, no, we didn't, did we? We sold a car, didn't we? Have we ever presented trade numbers to people and we said their vehicle's worth 12 and they felt it was worth 16? And we said, come back when you've paid off 4,000 more, right? Oh, no, that's right, we sell a car. See, when you give me all the information, I can deselect myself and not come in. You've helped me eliminate you. But more than that, the other dealers in the market were getting these worksheets, right? Because people would come in and say, can you beat what Steve's Toyota gave me, right? And what do they do every single time? They sell a car, right? They sell a car. And it's worse than that. It wasn't just other Toyota dealers that were getting these worksheets. It was Honda, Chevy, Kia, Hyundai. Everybody in town was getting these worksheets. When we shut that spigot off, that dealership had a record month the next month. Just from that minor change, stop giving out all the information. All right, when you leave today, I want you to understand appointments are everything. If you fail to set an appointment that shows you're lucky to get the sale, and let's look at that opportunity.
Give a price or not give a price?
Give a price or not give a price. If it was Steve Stauning Toyota, I give a price. I give a price. If I'm in a rural market and I'm the only Toyota dealer in that market and the next closest Toyota dealer is 60 miles away, maybe not. But I do give a price. I give a competitive price. And I give a compelling reason to buy from me. And we'll get to that in a little bit. I just don't think you can do it without giving a price. Now, does that mean give a price in writing, in the email? I have, and by the way, we're going to talk about processes a little bit later. I have my processes with all my templates. You're all welcome to them if you send me an email at either of the email addresses on the cards. When you get my first personal response email template on the internet side of the business, for new cars, I have 3 templates. One is we need more information. There's no price given. The second one is a range. We just kind of have trim level or we just have make, model, and here's our range. We don't know enough. And then the other one is a VIN specific where we know the vehicle they want. I'll give a price on that, but I'm going to give 2 alternates that are lower priced to get them off of price. But what I'm not going to do is do the entire, here's everything about this vehicle. I mystery shopped a dealer the other day. They sent me a 5-page response that had the window label and everything about that vehicle, and it had all the little weird Toyota codes at the bottom that I didn't even understand, even though I know Toyota. It was way too much information, right? And all it's going to do is make people deselect you. So give a price or not give a price. I think today you have to give a price. How you give that price is what I want to address. All right, average dealers close about 20% of their traditional ups that arrive. That's 1 out of 5 on the first visit. And what do we know about traditional ups in CSI? We don't know anything, right? It's a coin flip, isn't it? What do we know about traditional ups and gross? It's a coin flip, isn't it, right? They pull out that TrueCar certificate in the end, and that's the price we're going to do it for. But these same average dealers, without doing anything special, are closing 50% of their internet appointments that show month in, month out. Now, the one thing they are doing that's different is they are setting a firm appointment. They're just not doing anything special for the dealer when they come into the dealership. These same average dealers are closing 60% of their owner marketing appointments at show. That's that guy I called with the 2011 Tundra, and I said, I've got a buyer in immediate need. If I can get him in the dealership and I'm average, I'm going to close him 60% of the time on something new. Now, what do we know about repeat business and gross? Is it generally higher or lower? It's higher. How about repeat business in CSI? It's higher. It's usually perfect, isn't it? So these are the people I want to go after. These same average dealers are closing 2/3 of their be-back appointments at show, month in, month out. Now, this is something that you're going to want to take back to your team because everybody in this room I know has been yelling at their team, or maybe nicely saying to their team over the years, We need everybody in the CRM, their name, their email address, their phone number, right? We need to get them in the CRM. Well, here's the whiffum for your team to get that done. If we can get them in the CRM and we can follow a process, we're going to close 2/3 of them if they come back on an appointment. There's one more thing to consider. If we're only closing 20% of the traditional ups that walk on the lot, that means 8 out of 10 people who walked on our lot 2 years ago didn't buy from us. Now, what if in June 2012 we were doing a perfect job of getting data and we got the name, email address, and phone number of all of those people? So take what you sold in June last year, multiply it by 3 at the lowest level. That's how many people didn't buy. So if you sold 250 cars last June, new used combined, there were 750 people who visited your lot who didn't buy. What if for those 750, I had name, email, phone number, I put that into the CRM, I did a be-back follow-up process, and I found out what they bought, where they bought it, and why they didn't buy from me. And I put all 6 pieces into the CRM. You know that owner marketing call we're doing today where we're trying to buy someone's vehicle back? We can do that same call on that person who bought a 2012 Civic, right? We can say, hey, Mrs. Jones, it's Steve Stauning calling from Century Toyota. You probably don't remember me, but a couple of years ago you looked at a Corolla, and I think you ended up buying a Civic. You wouldn't still have that vehicle. Oh, yeah, it's the best car. Oh, yeah, we know those Civics are great. Listen, in fact, we can't get them at auction. This is going to sound a little weird, but my general manager wanted me to call you today. See if you'd be interested in selling your Civic to us. We're paying above book value, and we have 2 appraisal times on Civics today. We've got a 415 and a 445, which works better for you. See, we can begin to market to that database that we don't have today. Now, a wise GM once told me that there are 2 best times to plant a tree, right? The first best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. Does anybody know when the second best time to plant a tree is? Right, that's right now. And so even though we didn't get all that data 2 years ago, why don't we start today, right? Why don't we make sure that in July 2014 we get every up in the CRM, and again, there's a great whiffum for your sales team. Dealers who will follow the perfect appointment, though, top dealers are closing 80% of the appointments that show month in, month out. And they're doing it with above 80% show rates. They're getting perfect CSI, and they're doing this in 90 minutes or less. The deal from beginning to end, including F&I. Yeah, including F&I. I'm going to show you a real-world example of 2 dealerships. This part isn't in your book. These are 2 dealers that I started working with last September. They're owned by the same gentleman. He has a few other dealerships, but these 2 in particular sell the same brand in the same size markets, fairly rural markets compared to your markets. These 2 markets are about 55 miles apart, and in September of last year, stores A and B had equal market share, the same size staff, and roughly the same size store, roughly selling the same number of vehicles. And so I worked with them in September, October, November, December, and in January, near the end of January, I was working with them for my last time. And the owner came to me, he said, Steve, how come store A is just treading water and store B is up 30% year over year, and I know for the first time ever we're going to hit President's Club in 2014, and we're only 3.5 weeks into the first month of the year. And I said, let's take a look at how your team managed their first 100 appointments set for January. So in store A, out of their first 100 appointments set, they had a 33% show ratio. 33 out of those first 100 appointments they set for January showed up in the dealership. Of those 33 who showed, they closed 21% of them. In other words, they sold 7 vehicles to their first 100 appointments set. Store B had 82 people show up from their first 100 appointments. They closed 78% of those, and if you're quick with math, you know that's 64 units. It's an enormous difference. It's hard to wrap your head around this difference, but it's real. The biggest difference between stores A and B is lip service. The managers in store A give the appointment culture lip service. They say all the right things. They think it's another program, right? It's an OEM program, or it's one of those idiotic things that our owner came back from a 20 group with, right? You guys have never done that, right? Come back from a 20 group with something really, yeah, okay. They give it lip service in store A, and the owner allows it. He's an absentee owner. He can't be everywhere. He owns real estate. He owns other things. He relies on his GMs. His GM of store A screams at the team. I've been there. I want 2 appointments a day, 2 appointments a day, 2 appointments a day. Nobody leaves unless they give me 2 appointments a day. What does everybody give him every day? 2 appointments. Hold on. I'll get a drink of water here. Watch me while I drink this water. You're not going to believe it. I just set 2 appointments. You see that? See, I can set appointments all day long. They're not real. But you might be asking, Steve, how did they only close 21%? I mean, these people showed up for appointments. Surely they were at least average. No, the difference is they close their appointments at the same rate that they close their traditional ups because those 33 people didn't know they had an appointment. And the salespeople who set those appointments didn't know they had people coming in, right? So it's a Monday. I say to somebody on the phone, when would you like to come in? Invariably, people think big purchase on the weekend, right? So they say, why me on Saturday? What time do y'all open? And I say, we open at 9. Be sure and ask for me. And I run to the CRM and I lie to the CRM. I got that appointment in there. So I put an appointment in there for 9:15 Saturday morning. If I see an up at 9 o'clock, am I taking it? Sure, because I don't think I have an appointment at 9:15. If these people show up at all, it's a surprise to me. It's a surprise to them. Now, why did they only get a 33% show ratio in general? I'll tell you. One, they were setting fake appointments, but you know what they did? They had a rule in there that if you set an appointment and it showed within 24 hours of the appointment time, it counted. It counted as an appointment for you, and we were going to protect you as a salesman. So I could put an appointment in for 9 a.m. today, and they show up at 8 p.m. tonight, and that's still my appointment, right? So I didn't have to pin anybody down on time. Somebody says I can be in on Thursday, I just put them in at 9 a.m. Or if I'm really smart, I put them in at 9 p.m. That way I'm covered all of Thursday and all of Friday, right? And if one of those are my day off or I'm on a test drive when those people come in, and they're not going to ask for me, they don't know to ask for me, I'm going to be able to get half that deal. So even with that broad definition of what an appointment was, their show ratio was lower than Store B. Store B only protected prospects that arrived for an appointment within 45 minutes of the scheduled time. That means if I set a 5:15 appointment and they arrived at 4:15, it was an open floor on that customer. Anybody could have that customer. And you might be thinking, well, Steve, that's not fair. You got them in. No, I didn't. Have you ever arrived at your dentist appointment an hour early? If you did, you sat for an hour, didn't you? Right? Have you ever arrived at your dentist appointment an hour late? If you did, you waited 3 or 4 hours or they rescheduled you. Store B, 90% of those 82 people who showed up within 10 minutes either side of the appointment, with most of them being early rather than late, because they said how important it was. Now, Store B is someone we call an 80-80 store, about an 80% show, about an 80% close. It's math for Store B. They know out of every 100 appointments they set, they're going to sell about 64 cars. It just becomes math. They're an 80-80 store. They're following the perfect appointment. Now, you might be saying, Steve, what's the average dealer? Well, I don't want to say average, but I will tell you a typical dealer is what we call a 40-40 store. About a 40% show, about a 40% close, right? Because when people get there, they're not really good appointments, and it's across the board. That's the opportunity if you're running an average store, is just on appointment set. Now, obviously, once you go to the perfect appointment, you start setting more appointments. Yes, sir?
Why even get out of bed at 33%? Why get out of bed at 40%? If you're actually gonna go to work and get dressed, get up in the morning, leave your house to perform at 33%, I don't understand.
People are lazy. Well, they're checking boxes in Store A. Guys, let's be very clear here. Store A, in August of 2013, a month before I ever started working with them, they were making money. In February 2014, a month after I stopped working with them, they were making money. See, they were making money throughout. The difference is dissatisfaction. Whenever you look at the stores that just blow up, that just get gigantic, that do really well and continue to grow month over month over month, and some of us will dismiss it, well, that's their market, or that's, it's generally a dissatisfaction with the managers in the store. They are dissatisfied, like you said, with 33%. Why even get up? Why? But for most dealerships, guys, I'm sorry. This is where most dealerships would be if my training was forced on them by their owner. This is where most dealerships would be if the owner's not willing to drive it, or at least get a general manager who drives it. That's what's going to happen. Salespeople do not like making phone calls. Salespeople think this is working, right? This is working. Sometimes it's this. You add that, now we've got some real motion going on. Now we start talking about fantasy football, right? Wow, we made a day. Oh, look at this, it's 2 o'clock, it's time to go for a 4-hour lunch. That's the problem. And the fact is we've got to have a dissatisfaction. I'm glad to hear you have a dissatisfaction. You wouldn't let that happen in your store. Most dealerships, left to their own accord, are sitting at 40-40. Any other questions on these dealerships?
80% of your prospects you should make appointments with?
No. So the question was 80% of your prospects you should make appointments with. That's not what I'm talking about. In fact, what the number is you should have and we're going to see it later, so you don't have to write it down now, 25% show to lead ratio should be your minimum. Meaning for every 100 leads I get 25 warm bodies in the dealership, okay? So when I look at the show ratio, I only show you show ratio here as a comparison. What I really look at is I look at lead to show, or show to lead actually. I want to see a minimum of 25% show to lead, and then I want to close 80% of those that arrive. But we'll get to what the minimum best practice guidelines are later. All right, right now most dealerships are living off the up bus, right? That's where your traffic is a series of peaks and valleys. Peaks are generally on the weekends, valleys are generally during the week. And the problem with this is our traffic controls us, bless you. Right? Our traffic is in control of us, and it's worse than that for some of you. I worked with a dealership group in Auburn, Alabama. When Auburn's going for the national championship, you can fire a cannon through their dealerships on Saturday mornings because nobody shows up. And the business doesn't pick up during the week. They just kind of lose a lot of that business. So they're torn, right? Everybody in Auburn's an Auburn Tigers fan, and they're thinking, kind of wish they'd lose, right? So we could sell some cars. See, the market starts to control the traffic. Now, I know you guys don't have rain here in California, but in other areas where I work, if a thunderstorm rolls into the market at 8:30 in the morning and it's going to be there all day, your up bus goes away, right? But think about this. I live in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I've got that December 26th dentist appointment, if you remember, 9:15 now. If inclement weather comes into the market, so long as the roads are passable, I'm still going to keep my dentist appointment, right? And it's the same thing if you have an appointment culture in your dealership. It doesn't matter what the weather is. It doesn't matter what game is on TV. If someone has set an appointment, they'll keep that appointment. See, my vision for you is you begin to live off the appointment bus where you're in control of your next hour, your next day, your next week, your next month. And here's the real vision. We're locking up tonight at 9 if we close at 9. If our hours are till 9 o'clock, we're locking up at 9. Steve, don't you mean 1 a.m.? No, I mean 9. Right? Because when you live off an appointment culture and somebody says, how late y'all open, we no longer say we're open until 9 and leave it at that. We say we're open until 9, but my last test drive on that ES is for 7:15. Now I have a 6:45 and a 7:15. Which one of those works better for you? See, people will do what we tell them to do, and if we say we're open until 9 and they say I'll be in before 9, and then we say be sure and ask for me, what does before 9 mean to the typical customer? 8:45. Did anybody say 9:15, by the way? Sometimes I'm in these classes, they go 9:15, and they're right. So my vision for you is you're locking the door tonight. And I don't know the size of your dealership, but let's just use this number. And let's not use tonight because it's Thursday, and Friday appointments are generally higher than the rest of the week. Let's say it's Tuesday. Tomorrow's Wednesday. I'm locking up at 9 o'clock, and I know that I have 30 appointments set for tomorrow, 30 sales appointments for tomorrow. It's math after that. I've got 19 to 20 units sold before I go home, before my head hits the pillow. I know about what my grosses are going to be. I know exactly what my CSI is going to be. There's no question about it. Tomorrow is made. I don't have to hope there's an up bus because I'm living in an appointment culture. That's what living in an appointment culture does, and it does the same thing for your salespeople. They're starting their car at 9 o'clock to go home, and they know they have 3 appointments set for themselves for tomorrow. They know they got 2 cars sold. No matter what else happens, they've got 2 cars sold tomorrow. Again, that's the appointment culture. So lots of benefits to appointments. We looked at how it balances out the day and the week. What we didn't talk about was that it can reduce bottlenecks like F&I and appraisals. For most of us, on a day like Thursday, F&I gets backed up around 7:15 usually, right? The up bus that arrives after 5 o'clock, that starts to clog up F&I around 7:15. So let's say I'm looking at my appointments for today, and I'm in the enviable position of having 20 appointments from 5:30 until 6:30. What a great problem. Wouldn't that be awesome? I can call my sales team to the desk and I can see which deals we can start to work out in advance, right? What menus we can start to plan to present. And then I can even find out, are there any of these folks who would like to come in earlier? Could we take any of these to their place of business, right, during the lunch hour today? What could we do to stop that big clog we know we're going to have in F&I around 7:15 if we allow these people to come in from 5:30 to 6:30? Or maybe I just get extra F&I managers to stay late, right? Maybe I go to my morning F&I managers and say, go home, come on back for the dinner rush. See, that's what they do in restaurants. Restaurants don't have A/B schedules. They schedule people when people are going to be there, and that's what we can do in our dealerships. All right, we looked at the higher closing percentage for appointments. We talked about the higher CSI, higher grosses front and back. But my favorite benefit of the appointment culture is you get greater sales per person, which leads to higher employee satisfaction, which leads to lower turnover. Solving one of the major problems today is getting great people to work the floor. That's what an appointment culture can do. By the way, stores A and B, back to them. Store B has not added salespeople. They're selling 30% more with the same number of salespeople. So their 10-car guys are now 13-car guys, right? Fact of the matter is they're selling more cars at higher grosses with the same number of people, and their turnover's been reduced. Store A, they still have their core veterans, or as I call them, prima donnas, right? They're never going to leave. They have that group. Then they have this middle group that kind of moves in and out, right? They probably have about a 30% turnover, that middle group, and that hasn't changed. And then that bottom third has probably, changed 3 times since September, and they are continuing to have that problem. Store B, they get some, ins and outs with the bottom group, but it's a very small number, and they've really stabilized their ability, or they've really stabilized their dealership, and they don't need to hire as much. So our goal is to create a store-wide appointment culture, even though we really are more on the digital side with a lot of this. So I hope you want to know how you get appointments. Hope you're all in. Well, I'm going to give you a hint. It's all about the managers. That's all that matters. Middle managers are the key. Steve, I don't know what a middle manager is in the dealership. Okay, here's the test. If your name's not on the building and you have manager in your title, you're a middle manager. There you go. So for some of us, that's all of us, right? The differences between store A and B is managers. That's all it is. It's managers checking boxes and giving lip service. By the way, one of the other things about the managers in store A, the underperforming store, is when you ask them, well, can you describe what you do for the perfect appointment? They use words like usually and sometimes. If you ever use the word sometimes when you're describing your processes don't exist, right? It's always. It's we do A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. That's how we do it. That's a process. That's the difference. It's managers. And here's the unfortunate part about middle managers being the key. This is a typical desk manager who sees my training, right? I don't like change. This sounds like work. You know what? It is work, but it ends up being less work because we start to do fewer pencils. We start to sell more people that we give numbers to. We do it at higher grosses and better CSI. The worst, though, is the passive aggressive. Okay, boss. But you and I know I'm going to sabotage this, right? That's a passive aggressive desk manager. It's almost redundant in some ways, right? To say passive aggressive desk manager. All right. No offense to the desk managers in the room. I was there too. Listen, in appointment culture, middle managers play a specific role, and it's all around people and processes. And I know consultants throw around the words people and process, without actually explaining what it means. They've almost become meaningless words, but I'm going to explain exactly what people and process is. People is you. It's not your team. It's the managers. It's you and the other managers in the store. It's all about leadership. It's all about providing accountability, and it's all about doing it consistently. So when we talk about leadership, leadership is just getting people to want to do the things you want them to do. Do we want our team to make 30 calls per person per day, right? 30 to 50 a day? Sure, we want. How many of our teams are really doing it, right? In some ways, we just want them to make the calls that the CRM's asking them to make, right? And you know what, though? We let them lie to us, don't we? We let them click that they made the calls. I saw one salesperson who had 41 calls in 1 minute. When I looked at the call log, and you know what? His manager was happy. Listen, he had no past due activities. I said, oh, okay, good. Accountability is about consequences, but accountability doesn't have to be negative consequences. That's the thing to remember here about accountability. Your top people want to be held accountable. They really do. Think about it. For all of us who were salespeople in this room, you were probably one of the top salespeople when you did that job. And you're sitting in the back, well, you wouldn't sit in the back of the room. You're sitting in the middle of the room towards the front of the room during a Saturday morning meeting. And I remember this from 1985. My manager's screaming and cussing and spit's flying out of his mouth, and he's talking about all these things none of us are doing, none of you are doing, none of you are doing. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm doing all these things, right? And this other guy saying, I'm doing all, and we look in the back of the room, and those 2 6-car-a-month knuckleheads are just talking to each other, passing notes, snickering. They don't even know that the manager's talking to them. Great people leave because you won't hold people accountable. They really do. They want to be held accountable, but they want everybody to be held accountable. That's what the consequences are, and you got to do it consistently, without question. Putting in a new culture, especially the appointment culture, is training a puppy, okay? I want you to remember that. We are training a puppy. So we get a brand new puppy at our house. Do we go put it in another room and come back in a month and see how it's doing? No, that room would be a mess, wouldn't it, right? Every single day we take care of that puppy. We do the things that make sure that that puppy's going to have a great life with us and that we're not going to lose our minds, right? That's what this is. It's training a puppy. And process is only one thing. Process is just activities. We get really hung up on what processes are. And they really are just about the activities. They're not about, knowing the entire process. I'll send you 6 processes. They have all the days for all the emails to go out and voicemails and all the things you're going to leave. Don't get hung up on that. Hand them to somebody. Tell them, put these in the CRM. I'm going to manage today's activities. That's all I have to manage for process. I don't have to care about the entire process all the way across. All right, and middle managers, the specific duties that we do in appointment culture, one is we enforce the new point. I told you earlier that this is not working, right? Your salespeople think this is working in appointment culture. It's not working. And your job as middle managers is to go outside on a Monday morning at 9:15 when we know there's not going to be an up bus for about 2 hours and bring everybody inside. Come on in, guys, gals, let's go. Let me introduce you to the new point. This is your desk. This is your phone. This is your CRM tool. I need you sitting here making calls. Boss, I don't have anybody to call. Okay, then let me introduce you to the CRM tool again, right? We can find someone to call. You mean you have no B-backs? Oh, I made all those. You didn't make those calls, right? Every store has about 2 hours a day per salespeople that they could be making calls, doing nothing else. And the fact of the matter is you can make about 50 calls in 2 hours because you're going to get about 45 voicemails. You're going to talk to 5 people. A great quality call lasts about 3 minutes. So 2 hours a day is all your team needs to make 50 calls. If you ask them how many hours a day they do this, it's probably 5 or 6 on a typical day. So they've got plenty of time. We need to eliminate past due activities in an appointment culture. So the first step on that is to go back to your CRM tomorrow and wipe out every past due activity. Just wipe them out. Steve, some of those are important. My team will riot. Well, they might riot, but none of those are important. Last time I did this training, we pulled up the CRM of the dealership I was doing the training at just last week, and they had 941, their top guy, his oldest past due activity was a 941-day-old birthday call. So do the math. We could just wait, right, about another 100 days, and it's going to be 4 birthdays since that one birthday call. They're not important, but let's do it this way. Let's eliminate past due activities by going to our team and saying a week from today, pick it July 3rd, we're going to eliminate all past due activities. So what I need you to do is between now and then, if you have any past due activities that you think are important, move them after July 3rd. Because we're going to have our CRM company just wipe everything out. It's the only way. You can't start harping on them to make the 941-day-old birthday call. They're not going to do it. And so get them all wiped out, and then moving forward, you never allow past due activities. See, past due activities are the enemy of process. Let's say that you have a process for B-backs, and you make a call on day 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, and 10. Let's say you make 6 B-back calls. By the way, your team's making probably about a half a call. But let's say you have this process. Calls for 6 calls over 10 days. If you don't enforce the day 3 B-back call to me one time, what happens to my day 5, 7, and 10 B-back calls? They go away, right? You have to eliminate past due activities. You simply can't allow them. They're the enemy of process. And by the way, so now I don't make the day 3, 5, 7, or 10 B-back call. Well, eventually I stop making the day 2 B-back call, and then eventually I stop making the day 1 B-back call, and you're never going to enforce it, right? And that's why you've got to stay on top of past due activities constantly. You need to listen to phone-ups in appointment culture. Hey, Steve, we do that. We've got who's calling, and I want you to listen to them differently. I'm going to actually do a talk track for you later on phone-ups, but you can close 30% of your phone-ups today. Of the people, not 30% of your service or what time you open, 30% of people who call about a specific vehicle, you can close them on a car today. Now, earlier we saw the average dealer closes 20% of their traditional ups. Now, if we saw a guy walking on the lot all by himself, right? Some of us even have codes. We go crazy, right? Sales 99 to the floor or sales 99 to used cars, and we want to make sure somebody's going to help that guy, right? But yet the phone is actually a lower funnel prospect and someone we can close. So we can close them at 30%, and we can close them at higher CSI and higher grosses. In an appointment culture, you need to listen to outbound calls. Now, California is a 2-party state, right? Both parties need to know calls being recorded. Is that true? Maybe you know. I'm not a lawyer, so that's unfortunate. There's something that all good CRMs and all good phone systems can do, and some of you probably already have this. It's called CTI, Computer Telephony Integration. It's where your phone system can talk to your CRM tool. And in states that are 1-party states where only one side needs to know that a call is recorded, the dealerships get their team to sign off that they know their calls are being recorded. And then when they pick up the phone and make a call to any number that's in the CRM, the phone system records the call and it appends the record to the CRM. So when I pull up Barbara Jones, my 5:15 appointment tonight, there's a little speaker that as a manager I can click on and hear my salesperson set that appointment. So I want you to record your calls, and I want you to find a way to make sure the customer knows the call is recorded. I don't know what that means, but if you can record your outbound calls, that's the best way to listen to outbound calls. If you can't, then your managers need to do what's called MBWA, management by walking around. They need to sit themselves in the middle of if you have a sales BDC where all your salespeople make the calls, they need to sit there and do their paperwork. Or they need to walk around and go cubicle to cubicle to cubicle, listening to the team make the outbound calls. It's the only way that you can ensure that they're making the right outbound calls. We talked about accountability. Just realize this, accountability benefits everybody. And there are two things that middle managers need to own in the appointment culture. You need to own the appointments, and I'll explain that in just a second. You need to own the processes. So what I mean by owning the appointments is this. If your typical dealership today, I'm one of your salespeople, and I've got an appointment at 5:15 with someone I sold a car to a couple of years ago. Her name's Barbara Jones. She's coming in to look at a 14 Camry. Right now, whose appointment is that? It's mine, right? I'm holding the appointment. If I've created an appointment folder, I have the folder. If I printed anything out, if I've done any pre-work on the appointment, if I'm going to get the vehicle ready, if I'm even going to be around at 5:15, all of that's up to me, right? Because it's my appointment. In an appointment culture, the middle managers own the appointments. It doesn't matter my relationship with the person coming in for the appointment. It's the middle manager's appointment. They own the appointments. They're the ones that 45 minutes before the appointment will call me to the desk and say, Steve, do you have Barbara's car ready? Is it clean gas parked out front ready to go? If not, they'll want to know why, and they'll get me on that. Steve, where's Barbara's appointment folder? Where are the keys to the vehicle? Right? They want to know everything about the appointment. And at 5:15, the scheduled appointment time, if I'm by myself, they'll call me to the desk and say, Steve, where's Barbara Jones? Right? Because just like the dentist office, in an appointment culture, your appointments are late at the scheduled appointment time. And we'll go through that when we do the perfect appointment. So that's owning the appointments. That's number one. Then you need to own the processes. So I'm going to send you 6 processes if you want them. You're welcome to them. But when you implement them, they can't be Steve Stauning processes. They can't be Toyota processes. They can't even be your dealership name processes. They have to become every manager's process. And what I mean by that is if your managers don't own the processes, they won't enforce them. If they don't believe that the day 3 be back phone call is important, your team will never make the day 3 be back phone call. So it's all about owning those processes. And I'm going to ask you a quick rhetorical question, and that is, do you have written processes? For some of you, the answer is no. And then the next question is, well, what do I mean by written processes? I mean a book, right? A bunch of papers put together, stapled together, that these are the Steve Stauning Toyota written sales, marketing, and appointment processes. And when I started your dealership, you give me the same 10-minute training I had back in 1985, but instead you also hand me that process book. And you say, Steve, go on over into the break room, study the processes, study the book. There's a 25-question test in the back. Take that test as many times as it takes to get a perfect score, because you can't sell cars for us until you can take the test without the book and score perfect. That's how you get processes enforced. Has anybody ever heard of the Mack truck theory? Here's the Mack truck theory. What happens to your internet sales processes if your internet manager gets hit by a Mack truck on the way to work tomorrow? That's the Mack truck theory. For most dealers, it's the #1 reason you go from good to bad on the internet. When I was with Asbury, we had a store that month in, month out reported 60+ units from their internet team. Smaller store, 5 end-to-end internet salespeople and 1 internet manager. One month, they reported 20 units. And I called the general manager. I said, there must be a mistake. You guys only reported 20 internet units. He said, no, that's it. The internet manager quit. I said, oh, crap. Did he take the whole team with him? No, those 5 are still here. See, the 5 salespeople who had been selling more than 12 units per person per month averaged 4 the minute the internet manager left, because he was the one driving the process. He was making sure they were on the phones all the time. He was the one making sure they didn't say, when would you like to come in, right? He was the one making sure that they weren't just vomiting information all over everyone. And as soon as he left, everybody thought they could do it better, or at least easier, or lazier, and that's why they dropped. When you have written processes, you can abbreviate the training curve, and you increase your chance to hold me accountable and stay consistent to those processes. It makes me want to make the phone calls if they're in writing. But just like the CRM, if it's not in writing, it doesn't exist. So why do we need processes on the internet side of the business? Well, it's pretty clear. Of people who submit a lead and buy a car, 24% buy in the first 10 days. Fully 34% buy over the next 50 days, and more than 40% by more than 2 months after submitting an online lead. So what that tells us is that a fourth of people need a hard press, right? And 3/4 need long-term follow-up. Can we tell who's who when the lead comes into the CRM? No, your team will tell you they can, right? The cherry pickers. We can't tell. I've mystery shopped at least 1,000 dealers over the years before their 20 groups. So I'll do a 20 group and I'll mystery shop the 20 dealers in the group. And of those dealers, I use a Google Voice number so I can see how many phone calls come in. On average, an average 20 group, 10 of the dealers will make no phone calls to the number I give. 0. 9 of the dealers will make 1 call, and generally there's 1 dealer that their team made 3 calls. See, stores without process generally stop following up around day 3. Now, doing the 20 group, in the middle of it, right? While I'm in the middle of doing the 20 group, there'll be dealers with their iPads, right, or their laptops pulled up, and they'll say, no, Steve, we show we made 10 calls to that number, right? No, you made 10 clicks, right? You made 10 clicks to that number. You didn't make any calls, and that's a problem. That's why we need to make sure we're following a process. There's a company called Market to Lead. They're now part of Oracle. They did a study that found if you'll follow a lead handling process, we can yield a 23% shorter selling cycle, meaning we can pull people in the store 23% faster than they were planning on buying, and we can do it at a 9% higher selling price. Not 9% more gross, 9% higher selling price. On a $30,000 car, that's $2,700. Now, for some of you who are holding gross, obviously, you're going to have less of an uptick than that. But for those of you who are giving a lot of gross away and you start following process, you can see your grosses rise. So remember stores A and B? Why do we need a process? Because without solid appointment processes in place, every VIP becomes a traditional up, right? Store B, 78% close percentage on their first 100 appointments this January. Store A, 21%. It's a difference between having a process and not. So what can we do with processes if we have them in our store? Well, let's look at stores with process. Anybody ever heard of Dave Smith Motors? Just a few of us, right? Dave Smith is the world's largest Dodge dealer, Chrysler dealer, Jeep dealer, and this one surprised me, Mopar accessory dealer. Dave Smith is in Kellogg, Idaho, population 2,110 people. Now, Kellogg is not like Mountain View. It's not some suburb of some giant metropolis. The closest big city to Kellogg, Idaho is where I live, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. We're about 45 minutes away. Now, if you ask the dealers in the Pacific Northwest, the Chrysler dealers in my market where I live, and I've asked them, how does Dave Smith do it? You know what they say? They give them away. They give them away. All right. I've been there since July 2010. In those 4 years, I've bought 3 used Jeep Wranglers. Just bought the last one about 3 Sundays ago. And all 3 times I tried to buy from Dave Smith Motors. Dave Smith Motors has the largest selection of used Jeep Wranglers in my market, within 100 miles of my house. They have a location in Coeur d'Alene, by the way. It's a used car lot. And all 3 times I tried to buy from them, and all 3 times I couldn't. And the reason I couldn't is because I knew what I wanted to pay. I knew what I was willing to pay. I knew what that Jeep was worth, and I knew how much money they were making on it, and they wouldn't bend. They used the same process every time. The same process in 2010, they used in 2012, and they used 3 weeks ago. This time, the difference was I actually went down to the dealership after trying to negotiate online. I went down to the dealership to try to really hammer them, right? Because I know this business. No, I left without the car. You know what they don't have? They don't have a fear of loss. See, a lot of us have this fear of loss. Man, if that guy leaves, we're done, right? There's another group out there that doesn't have a fear of loss, and that's CarMax. CarMax, if you call them and try to get a price for your trade on the phone, they won't give you a price of the trade. If you say, I'm not coming down to you, give me my numbers no matter what, they'll say, sorry, that's not how we operate. They have no fear of loss that you won't get, that you'll go somewhere else. But once you arrive, they have a process that'll print out. Here's what we're going to try to steal your trade for, right? And they know a whole bunch of those people leave with that, right? And go to you and say, hey, can you beat this? And just like when that guy brought in that Kelley Blue Book, you know, in 1985, we said, oh, twist our arms. We'll see if we can't beat that CarMax price. They have no fear of loss of the guy leaving with that paperwork, with that guaranteed buy. Same thing with Dave Smith Motors. They didn't care that I left. They didn't care that I left. Now, they weren't jerks about it. They were never jerks. On the 3 times I tried to deal with them, they were great. I'm just not going to fall for their charms, if you will. See, all they have is process. By the way, they have more new vehicles, Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram, on the ground in Kellogg, Idaho than there are men, women, and children living there. They sell about 1,000 a month to people who fly in, that they send a a van for an hour and a half away to Spokane Airport, drive them into Kellogg, put them up in a hotel, have them come into the dealership the next morning, sell them a car, and the people drive away. That means no trade. Could you afford to do that and quote unquote give the cars away? You couldn't. Fact of the matter is they do it with process. Process is what's selling cars for them, not vomiting all the information all over everybody and not quote unquote giving them away. Yes, sir. Dan, leave the microphone with him. Go ahead. No, I give it.
You lost.
So yeah, so it's structure. Everybody needs structure. And as soon as you hit the panic button, you've lost. You're absolutely right. So let's look at one more with process. And I actually have a good story that goes along with this. You guys have heard of Texas Direct, right? I need to update my slide. Texas Direct actually does about $2,500 a month right now. They've been in business just over 12 years. All used cars. They used to do them all over eBay, quote unquote, not really over eBay. They'd do most of them in the eBay gray market. Their average salesperson sells over 100 vehicles a month. You sell 60 or you lose your job. And again, all they have is process. But you know what they don't have is a fear of loss. A general manager I know, one of his buddies was the general manager there recently, we'll say, and quit because those, in his words, those idiot owners of Texas Direct could sell 10 times the vehicles they sell today if they would operate like a regular dealer. I said, explain. He said, my buddy said that because they wouldn't bend $100 on a truck and the guy stormed out of there and they just given that up. And they wouldn't bend $500 on a Jeep that they were still making $2 grand on. And the guy stormed out of there. And if they just do it like a regular dealer, they'd sell 10 times more. And so you know what my answer was? You mean they'd sell $25,000 a month? Because that's 10 times more. They have no fear of loss. Now they by the way, are not married to their processes in that the way we're doing them today is the way we're going to do them tomorrow. They do continuous process improvement. Just a few years ago, you could not go into Texas Direct without an appointment. I remember a story that eBay used to tell that a guy and his wife walk in. They say, we're here to see this '04 Mustang you've got on eBay. And the salesperson says, great, you got an appointment. This was back when they were only doing $900 a month and working out of a roller rink. Salesperson says, great, do you have an appointment? They said, no, we live in the area. We knew where you're located. Salesperson said, no problem. Go home, go on eBay, submit a bid. We'll contact you. We'll schedule an appointment. Then you can come in. Guy pulls out the checkbook. You don't understand. We're ready to buy. That's the Mustang we're looking for. Salesperson says, great. Go home, go on eBay, submit a bid. We'll contact you. We'll schedule an appointment. That's when you can come in, right? Went back and forth till the couple left mad. The guy from eBay goes to the owners and to tell on this salesperson. And the owners said this, allegedly. This is an eBay story, not mine. The owner said, if we let that young couple circumvent our process for one car, we'd only be doing $600 a month instead of $900 a month. Now, you can go into Texas Direct today. I was just there. You can go in. They've got a giant lot. They took over, I think, where Classic Chevrolet used to be in Stafford, near Houston. And you can go in there and look at all the vehicles you want. You want to test drive one? You go up to the kiosk, you register, put all your information in, and you set an appointment. It's still on an appointment basis. And no, they're not going to bend. The price is the price. Oh, you come back from that test drive, you want to test drive another one? No problem. Go back to the kiosk. Register the one that you want. Their salespeople spend about 15 minutes with you. That's how you sell 100 a month, by the way, as a salesperson. Any questions on that? They have no fear of loss. I'm not saying don't have a fear of loss. I'm saying let's regulate our fear of loss, okay? Let's regulate. One of the greatest things that my sales manager ever taught me in 1985 was you can't sell an empty seat. You can't sell an empty chair, right? And if I give somebody all the information online, everything, right? If I tell them everything over the phone, I have no chance to sell them. I've got to get them in the dealership. But I'm going to do it in a nice way. I'm not going to be a jerk. I'm going to be nice about it. I'm just not going to give up all the goods. Questions about Texas Direct or Dave Smith? All right, so how do you manage process? You know, we talked about activities, but I want to take you on a different attack for just a second. I wasn't always in the car business. In 1991, I went to work for a company called Chicago Beer. We were a Budweiser wholesaler on the south side of Chicago. I started as a salesman, and I didn't know anything about the beer business, so I grabbed a bunch of pamphlets from Anheuser-Busch, and they said, you know, if you put your beer at eye level versus down by someone's feet, you can sell like 23% more six-packs. And in a Circle K or 7-Eleven, if you'll be on the handle in the cold shelf, instead of over by the hinge, you'll sell like 35% more six-packs. And if you'll build a big display at the end of an aisle of a Safeway or a Kroger or a Ralph's, right, of warm Budweiser suitcases, and you put a big banner above it, even if it's not on sale, you'll sell like 200 to 300% more cases. And what they gave us was this roadmap of activities, but that's not how I was paid. As a salesperson, I was paid a base salary and a bonus based on volume versus last year, versus the same month last year. And so I'm just going to tell you, at Chicago Beer, every salesperson made 6 bonuses a year. See, we would stuff the back rooms of every bar, liquor store, restaurant one month, and we were all on different schedules, so the dealership, the distributorship didn't go like that. We just muddled along. But I would stuff, like this year, I'd stuff the back rooms in January and March, right? And then, by the way, in February and in April, I would hold back. We'd sandbag. We'd let people run out of beer. They had to beg us to come bring them beer on the last day of the month, because if you delivered beer on the last day of the month and it wasn't your bonus month, you're an idiot, right? I can make money on that beer next month. And that's what we would do every other month. And so this year it'd be January and March, and next year it'd be February and April that I'd stuff the back room. See, we worked our pay plans, and people will do that. And right now we manage results in the car business. And I want you to start to manage the activities. See, that's what we did at Chicago Beer. I became sales manager. We hired a guy to go out in the market. We quit paying bonus based on units sold, and we hired a guy to go in the market and mark whether we had activities done. Were we at eye level, or was Miller at eye level? Were we on the handle, or was Miller on the handle? Did we have the display, or did Miller have the display? And that's how we paid people. And from that month on until Chicago Beer got bigger and started buying up other distributorships, it's now called City Beverage. It's the largest distributorship in Illinois. It's all around Chicago now, Anheuser-Busch and other brands. From that time until they started buying others, we were the #1 Anheuser-Busch wholesaler in volume growth and percent growth in Illinois out of 38 wholesalers month in, month out, because we managed the activities. If you'll manage the activities, the results begin to take care of themselves. And in the appointment culture, there's only 2 activities you need to worry about. There are phone calls and appointments. Steve, it's internet. Don't we manage emails? No. Emails today are almost worthless. By the way, text messages are in here with phone calls. Text messages are not like emails. They are more like phone calls, and they should be managed that way. If you see your internet team doing this, that's not working, right? That's not working. You'll see them do this a lot, too. I don't know why they point at the screen. It's only when you're around. You're pointing at the screen. That's not working. That's the same as your floor team doing this. It's not working. This is what working looks like in an appointment culture, right? Holding your hand to your face. No, being on the phone. This is what working looks like in appointment culture. Emails have become almost worthless. When I started at Asbury, if you even sent 3 emails, they didn't have to even have words in them. You'd win that business, right? Because nobody was sending emails out to prospects, right? Remember when the average response time in automotive was like 27 hours or something like that? And you were a superstar if you could respond within 4 hours? Could you respond within 4 hours today and win any business? No, it's become almost worthless. Give me one well-crafted voicemail, and I bet that beats about 100 of the best written emails. Now, I'll still send out emails, but I want my CRM to do that automatically for me. Hey, Steve, we want our emails to sound personal. Okay, great. Let's write some personal templates, and then let's let the CRM send them out automatically. There's no reason for your team to touch a template, right? There's no reason whatsoever. It's a waste of time. Here's the other thing. What's that? Oh, it's in the other room. Some of you have, if you have the ADP CRM, I just found out working with a dealer recently, it won't send automated emails. It's the craziest thing. Here's the problem with those stores. If your emails aren't automated, and I have 100 tasks to do today, and 50 of them are email, and 50 of them are phone, the email is just I have to click send, send, send. Once I've clicked send 50 times, I think I've had a pretty big day, don't I? And so for the phone tasks, I just clicked that I made those as well. See, we think we've accomplished something when we clicked send, which is something that the CRM tool should have done for us automatically. All right, questions about activities? So let me teach you how to manage these activities to make sure they're being done. You inspect them in the CRM, but you also inspect them in real life, and that's that management by walking around. We want to walk around and engage the team, and we want to ask them questions, and we want to include a secret phrase called show me. If you want to make sure that your team is really making their phone calls, say, hey, Bob, you got all your phone calls made today? And Bob always says, I sure do, boss. And then you say, show me. And he'll turn white. What do you mean? Open your CRM, Take me through the calls you made. I want to see the notes that you've left. I want to see the timestamps of the calls, right? Show me our secret words to get people to want to do it. Show me. How many appointments you got for tomorrow, Bob? I got 2, boss. Show me. See, you don't have to spend all day in the CRM. You just walk up to your team. You don't have to spend all day with them. And you don't do it every day, and you don't do it on a regular basis. Like, so if every Monday they know, Steve's coming around, let's fake all our activities, right? You want to do it on different days. You want to do it sporadically. Maybe you don't talk to Bob for a month about his activities, but then 3 days in a row. Got all your calls done today, Bob? You got all your calls done today? You got all your calls done today? I sure do, boss. Show me, right? Show me the calls. I want to see the notes. They are secret words that make people want to do the activities that you need them to do. You can't accept any shortcuts or freelancing. This happens all the time, especially on the internet. You have some turnover on your internet team. I know, it's weird, right? Turnover never happens. But you get a new internet manager in, and he worked at the store up the street, man, and we were great there. We did it. Your process, we're going to put in our process that we did up the street, and you got to say, time out. Listen, we think we're pretty good here. What I need you to do is get good with our process. Prove that you can sell cars with our process, and then after a few months, I want you to come to me and suggest the changes that we should make. But you can't allow people to just freelance. You can't allow people to shortcut your processes and change everything overnight. We want to improve. We want to have continuous process improvement, but what we don't want to do is have somebody new come in and wipe out everything that we put in place. We can't accept anything past due. Past due activities, as I told you earlier, are the enemy of process. And if you allow me to have past due activities, then you're going to say that no activities are important. Now, here's a quick rule that I have 2 rules that I put in place at dealerships. Both will work if you'll enforce them on past due activities. The first rule, and this is the hard rule, and don't do it if you're not going to enforce it. If you have past due activities today and you worked yesterday, you don't catch ups today. You go sit at your desk and make appointments. You can have all of your appointments, but you don't get any ups. I don't care if it's Saturday. This is important. If you have past due activities today and you worked yesterday, you don't catch any ups. If you're not willing to enforce that, don't put that into place. Here's an easier rule that you can put into place. It doesn't have the teeth of this one, but if you enforce this every day, you'll get rid of past due activities. And that is, if you have past due activities today and you worked yesterday, you don't catch any ups until you finish yesterday's activities and today's activities, right? And so that's a little softer. If that's the one you can live with, live with. If you don't put either of those in place, just be prepared to once every kind of 3 or 6 months wipe out all the past due activities, because you're going to have a ton of them. And you'll just keep readdressing it again and again. All right, you need to zero in on the unimpeachable measurements, and we're going to give you those in a minute. But here's the problem. Remember store A, the general manager wanted what? 2 appointments a day, 2 appointments a day, 2 appointments a day. A very impeachable measurement, something that's easy to fake, right? Same thing, say response time, for example. We zero in on things that we can fake easily. You can't zero in on those. You can make them important, right? But they're not what you focus in on completely. Just realize it's all about being consistent and holding people accountable. So how do you get appointments? Your team has to ask for appointments. But the goal is an appointment that shows. So saying, when would you like to come in, is not asking for the appointment, right? When would you like to come in is just a cop-out. It's a way that I never hear no. I told you earlier that this is what working looks like in an appointment culture. I don't want to hear it from your internet team, but you can't set appointments via email, you can't set appointments via letters, and you can't set appointments sitting outside at the Old Point. And with Steve, we had this guy who was 100 miles away, and he wouldn't give us his phone number, and we went back and forth with email, and we structured the whole deal, and he came in and bought the car, and we made 10 grand front and back. It was the best deal we had all month. That's an exception, okay? We've all had those. It's not the rule. The rule is this is working in appointment culture. If someone won't give me their phone number, I'm less likely to continue to give them information, right? I'm more likely to give them information over the phone than I am to just continue to send them things via email. All right. My clicker stopped. I don't like phone training classes, and here's the reason. They're all good. Every phone training class I've ever seen has been a great class. It's been done well. Your team learns lots of great talk tracks, but the problem is they go back to their desk and life happens, right? They hear an objection that they didn't hear on the phone, or even just life. They just go right back to doing what they did. Do we know, anybody know who Tom Stuker is? Tom Stuker is the #1 phone trainer probably in automotive. Tom Stuker is famous, though, for something other than that. He's famous for, in July 2012, he was the very first United Airlines flyer to have 10 million medallion miles. 10 million butt-in-seat miles. He's got an aircraft named after him at United. You know why he has 10 million medallion miles and I don't even have 1 million yet on Delta? It's because he trained the same dealers again and again and again on phone training. See, we keep getting phone training, but we're not incorporating it into what we do. So I don't want your team to think about the talk track so much as the goal. They need to start with the goal in mind, and I have one goal when I get someone on the phone. It's an appointment that shows. It's my only goal. My only goal when I have someone on the phone is an appointment that shows. Now, the way that I do that is I treat every lead and call like an order. So if somebody calls me today and they want to know about this 2010 Sienna we've got on the lot, guess what they just did? They ordered the car. If somebody ordered a 2010 Sienna from me, would I ask them what is it about the Sienna they like? Is it the body style or the pricing? Would I ask them if there are any other vehicles they're looking at? And there are top trainers today that will tell you that when an inbound call comes in, to start exchanging information with the customer, to find out what other vehicles they're looking for, right? To find out, are they also looking at midsize SUVs? And I don't want to know any of that stuff. They ordered the car, and that's the way I'm going to treat it. See, I can only sell the other guy's car on the phone. The more information I give them, the less likely they are to show. So if I'm going to talk, I'm going to ask for the appointment. See, there's this inverse relationship between information given and appointment shown. It didn't used to be that way. I want to be clear. About 5 years ago, in most markets, if you were the guy that gave all the information to the consumer, you won more often than you lost. Today, it's exactly the opposite. I told you about that dealer that prints out the worksheet, and only 7% of those worksheets come back to the dealership. I'm going to teach you a concept today called bury the dead that may help those of you who are forced to give out-the-door numbers. A guy calls from about 100 miles from your dealership, and he wants his out-the-door numbers on a mid-level Camry. Now, he's in a market that has a Toyota dealer, and there are 2 Toyota dealers between you and him. He needs his out-the-door numbers on a mid-level Camry. Now, here's the deal. Because he's 100 miles away, he needs everything. He needs to know his interest rate, his payment. He needs to know what you're willing to give him on his trade. Now, he's willing to do all the work. He will do your online credit app. He will fax any information you need. He'll send you 42 pictures of his trade. He'll get his mechanic to sign an affidavit of mercantility. He'll do everything. But he just needs his out-the-door number. Is he going to buy from us? No, he's not. What's he doing? Just shopping, right? He is using us as an anchor price, right, as a whip against his local dealer. Now, to truly build good out-the-door numbers, it actually takes a couple of hours, right? Your salespeople have to bother your F&I team. They have to bother your used car manager. They have to do all this work to get all this stuff together. And so what I want you to do is I actually want you to sell him a car. But let's stop for a minute. Let's say he does buy from us. Let's say he does. We build the out-the-door numbers, and he drives 100 miles and comes and buys from us. Why did he do that? Because we were the lowest, right? It's the only reason. We were the lowest. He bought on price. Do we make any money on that deal? No, we don't. Is he going to service with us? No, he lives 100 miles away. What does he do to us on CSI? Crushes you every single time. But you have a fear of loss. That's bird in the hand, right? Your salespeople especially. I got to give him everything he wants. Boss, if I give him everything he wants, he's going to come by. No. So let's bury the dead, but let's do it in a nice way. We're going to say to him, we're going to say, hey, Bob, listen, you're not going to buy from me. Oh, Steve, I swear. No, listen, it sounds like you want the very best price. That's exactly what I want. Okay, listen, I've got a way to guarantee you the very best price. What I need you to do is get your best written offer locally. Then I need you to call me and schedule an appointment. I need you to bring me your best written offer. If we can't meet or beat your best written offer, we are going to fill your tank with gas and we're going to give you a $100 gift card to the Olive Garden. How's that sound? What can he say, right? We just guaranteed him the absolute lowest price. Steve, can we do that? Well, sure. He ain't coming anyway. What if he does come? What if he brings his best written offer from 100 miles away? You sell a car, yeah. And the best part is you sold it in 30 minutes. Somebody else did all the work, right? Bury the dead. Learn to bury the dead, okay? He's not coming anyway, but the best way to get him come is to do that. And by the way, your CSI with him goes up versus if you gave him all the information. He's going to crush you on CSI if you gave him all the information and he had to drive 100 miles to buy from you. But if somebody else was the rat bastard that he had to negotiate with for 2 hours and they fought him for the paper to get it out so he could bring it to you, you're the nice guy. But don't kid yourself. He's still not going to give you perfect CSI. The guy's a mooch and you're out. Now, let's be realistic. All right, so Steve, I have a 10-year-old Corvette on my lot. It was an Indianapolis Pace Car Edition. It only has 6,000 miles on it. Are you telling me not to build out the door numbers? No, that's a specialty vehicle. You're going to get a call from Seattle and Miami and Bangor, Maine and whatever. Build out the door numbers on that all day long. He can't get that in his own market, right? You're going to make all the money on that vehicle. You're willing to build out the door numbers. Let's even just talk a 4-year-old minivan with 10,000 miles on it. You're going to get people who need that vehicle for their church group or their school or whatever, and they're going to need out the door numbers built because they are a couple hundred miles away. Build that, right? Make all the money. But where it's a vehicle that they can get in their own market and you're giving up all the gross, don't do it. Call their bluff. What if they're in my market and only 5 miles away? Why can't they come in then, right? There's no reason to build out the door numbers for that guy. See, I will give a price on the phone. And if someone says, is that your best price? Absolutely not. We reserve our best price for people who've selected and test-driven a vehicle. Now, your presence is your leverage. And I've got 2 test drives open on that Camry today. I've got a 445 and a 515. Which one of those works better for you? There's no reason to give up all the goods. All right. I told you earlier, once I get somebody on the phone, there's only one goal, and that's an appointment that shows, but I have to ask for the appointment. I also told you that I can close 30% of phone calls today if they're on a specific unit. And these are stock check, price check, or equipment check. Is it in stock? What's your best price? Does it have third row seats? If I'm an average salesperson, but I follow the talk tracks, bless you, I can close these 30% of the time today. Now, just a couple of years ago, if somebody called up and said, hey, I'm calling about that 2010 Sienna you've got on Auto Trader, is it still in stock? We were training salespeople to say, I saw that Sienna this morning, but I know there was a young couple looking at it last night. Now, they may have put a deposit on it. What I'd like to do is go outside, put my hands on the vehicle, and then talk to my sales manager, make sure it's still available for sale. And if it is, what I want to do is get your name and number now so I can call you right back, right? Because our goal was get their name and number at that point, right? Get their information. But you're right, our goal now is to get an appointment that shows. See, the problem with that tactic, even if we did the old, we used to add, but please keep this line open for 5 minutes because I promise to call you right back. You'd call back, you still get voicemail, right? Because they're calling every other dealer with a 10-year-old or 4-year-old minivan, whatever. They're calling everybody. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create a sense of urgency. I saw that Sienna this morning, but at the price we have it listed at, it's not going to make it through to the weekend. Now I have 2 test drives open on that Sienna this afternoon. I've got a 12:15 and a 12:45. Which one works better for you? See, I'm going to create a sense of urgency and set the appointment. And I created a sense of urgency 2 ways. One, I said at the price it's listed at, it's not going to make it through to the weekend. Most people think they're going to make big purchases on the weekend, right? I've now taken them off of that. And then I created a sense of urgency the second way by saying I have 2 test drives open on that Sienna this afternoon. I've got a 12:15 and a 12:45. Which one works better for you? Do you know what the picture they have in their mind? It's of people lined up to test drive that Sienna. They're picturing people going, no, I was 12:15, get out of the way, right? People are fighting to get it. You got to create a sense of urgency. If they're not willing to set the appointment based on that, they don't want the car. They don't want it. They didn't want that minivan. They're not ready to buy. I don't need any other information from them, but once they set the appointment, guess what they're going to do? They're going to give me all their information. I don't need to ask them for their name and number now. They're holding back, but once they set the appointment, they'll give me everything. They'll give me social security number. They'll give me kids' date of birth. They'll give me anything I want because now we have a relationship. I've set that priority test drive for them. Now I'm going to promise to get them some information in something we call the recap, and we'll do the recap a little bit later too when we do the perfect appointment. But the recap is simply this. We're going to, let's say that this woman agrees to 12:15. She tells me her name's Barbara Jones. If I'm a typical salesman, I just really feel like I got to get off the phone right away before she changes her mind, right? And so I say, okay, we'll see you at 12:15. My name's Steve Stauning. Be sure to ask for me. Bye. And I hang up, right? Because I'm just scared. We got to stop that. We got to do the recap because this is the way we're going to get a minimum 80% show ratio, and that's this. She's agreed to come in today at 12:15. I'm going to say, great, Barbara. We're going to see you today at 12:15 to test drive that 2010 Sienna you saw on Auto Trader. Now, between now and then, I'm going to go get that Sienna cleaned, gas, parked out front, ready to go. So when you arrive for your 12:15 test drive, you're going to be in and out and on the road within 5 minutes. Now, Barbara, if anything happens to me or that Sienna, or for any reason it's no longer available for sale, I'm going to call you well in advance so you don't waste a trip down here. And all I would ask from you is that you show me the same courtesy. So can I count on you for today at 12:15? When she answers yes to can I count on you for today at 12:15, it is an 80% show rate, done deal. But you have to do the whole recap. Now, I told her I'm going to go see if it's still available, and I go outside, and what do I find? That Sienna went to auction 3 weeks ago, right? Still on Auto Trader. That never happens. I've got to keep my promises. Gone are the days where the sales manager says, just get them in, right? We'll put out that fire when they get here. I don't want to face 2 hours of brain damage, okay? We don't need that. And unlike 1985, today there's this thing called the internet and Google, right? They go on Google and they say what terrible humans we are. Or worse, they call the state. The state's just waiting for that call, aren't they? Bait and switch, you say, ma'am? We'll be right there. I'm going to keep my promise. But before I call her, I'm going to find 2 fill in the blank, better equipped, better value, whatever minivans. I'm going to call her. I'm going to say, Barbara, I've got some great news and I've got some bad news. Now, the bad news is that Sienna was sold this morning. The great news is I have 2 better equipped minivans, and I have both cleaned gas parked out front waiting for you for your 12:15 test drive. So can I still count on you for today at 12:15? You know, if she says no, that's okay. We weren't going to sell her anyway. But if she says yes, we're going to close her 90% of the time because it's now become an A-B close. When she gets there, because we kept our promise earlier, and she gets there and we have 2 minivans for her to test drive, we say, Barbara, it's A or B or both. Which one you want to test drive? All her other choices have fallen away in her mind. She's going to pick one of those 2 90% of the time. That's why we're going to keep our promises. All right. When we do an outbound call, same thing. Our goal is an appointment that shows, not more information. So I'm going to do a fake outbound call here. Barbara Jones inquired about a 14 Camry a few days ago. I'm an internet salesperson. I finally get a hold of her. I say, hey, Barbara, it's Steve Stauning calling from Century Toyota. Did I catch you at a bad time? Now, I'll stop there because your team wants to say is now a good time, right? You guys don't want to use the word bad. I'm not going to fight with you. I don't like hearing no, right? I want to say, did I catch you at a bad time? I want to hear yes. Yes, it is a bad time. All right. That's 1, 4 more, and I sold a car, right? My first yes? Notice I also didn't say, hi, Barbara, it's Steve Stauning calling from Century Toyota, family-owned and operated for 182 years, home of the lifetime oil change. I'm calling about your internet inquiry on the 2014 Toyota Camry. Did I catch you at a bad time? Listen to your salespeople. Your hair will fall out. Fact of the matter is, she knows why I'm calling. You know why? She ordered the Camry. Remember I told you earlier, treat every lead and call like an order. She sent in a lead on a Camry, she ordered it. I'm just calling to schedule her priority test drive. So I'm going to say, Barbara, Steve Stauning calling from Century Toyota did catch you at a bad time. By the way, if she forgot, even though it's only been 3 days, on why Century Toyota would be calling her, she'll say, what is it you want? What is this about, right? So I say, hey, Barbara, Steve Stauning calling from Century Toyota to catch you at a bad time. She says, yeah, I'm actually about to go into surgery. Hey, great, I understand. Listen, I'm just calling to schedule your priority test drive on the 2014 Toyota Camry. And I have 2 test drives open on that this evening. I got a 5:15 and a 5:45. Which one works better for you? Cruel, wasn't it? I want you to get the idea. She's never going to say that, but I didn't want you to leave here thinking there are times that we don't say this. No, we always say this. I need to set myself apart. Number 1, I am only calling to schedule your priority test drive. That's the only reason I'm calling. I have to set myself apart from other salespeople. But let's say time really is of the essence. And I get a hold of her and she says, I can't talk, I'm walking into a meeting. And I turn into typical salesman. Oh, sorry to bother you before a meeting, Barbara. I'm just calling about your internet inquiry on that 2014 Toyota Camry. Is there a better day and time to call you back? She says, yeah, why don't you call me back on Monday at this same time? Okay, so Monday at 10:45, she says yes. I say, okay, great. So I'm going to call you Monday at 10:45 at this same number. She says yes. I say, okay, sorry to bother you about your meeting and all. And hey, I'll talk to you on Monday. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. We'll see you then. Bye. How long did that take? It took 4 times longer, actually, than that. If time really is of the essence, I'm saving her time by getting right to the point. But my goal was an appointment that shows. My goal is not to get a better day and time to call her back. Because what happens on Monday at 10:45? She already bought a car. And you know how I know she already bought a car if I'm a salesman? Because I see the call in my CRM and I go, oh yeah, she probably bought a car. And I click bought elsewhere and I never make the call. I'm telling you, your salespeople will do that. They won't even make the call Monday at 10:45. It happens. About 90% of salespeople won't even bother to make that call. This is my opportunity, and it's going to scare your team to death, but about 30% of the time, she's going to pick one of those times. She really will. They'll go, wow, this stuff really works, right? She'll say 5:15. You'll be like, did you just say 5:15? Remember, she ordered it, right? All she's looking for is a salesperson to help her buy the car, pull her through the phone, drop her in the dealership, and sell her a car. She just doesn't want us to hurt her this time. But about 70% of the time, she's going to want more information. Sometimes she's just going to say no. And I got to understand why, because I can't overcome no. But just like I gave you secret words, show me, we're going to give your sales team, bless you, secret words called, it would be irresponsible for a dealer to give you that information over the phone. So I say, I've got 2 test drives open on that Camry, and she says, I'm not coming in till you tell me my interest rate. I'm an 800. What's the lowest rate on 14 Camry right now? 0, right? Why wouldn't I tell her that? Come on, Steve, there's nothing lower than 0. Because it's information. And because she looked at 18.2 sources of information and did 19 hours of research before submitting her online lead. She should know it's 0. If I tell her it's 0, and then she has that information, and Honda holds back on Accord, which is 0.9, and she goes into Honda, and they try to present her 0.9, she'll throw your 0 right in their face, won't she? And you know what they'll do? They'll sell a car. They'll buy down the rate. They'll do something with the payment. They'll sell a car. You cannot sell an empty seat. So she says, I'm not coming in until you tell me my interest rate. I'm an 800. I'm going to say, great, Barbara, if you're an 800, you know you're going to qualify for the very best rates that are out there. Now, we work with 27 banks and credit unions, and we're going to get you the very best rate that you do indeed qualify for. However, it would be irresponsible for a dealer to give you that information over the phone. Now, I do have 2 appointments open today with my business office. I've got a 5:15 and a 5:45. Which one of those works better for you? I'm not coming in until you tell me what you're going to give me for my trade. I have an 08 Taurus. Oh my gosh, you have an 08 Taurus, Barbara? We were told all of those had been parted out. No. Sorry. I know some of you may own Ford. All right. Oh, you have an 08 Taurus, Barbara? We can't get those at auction, but only a trained appraiser knows what your Taurus is worth, and it would be irresponsible for a dealer to give you that information over the phone. Now, I do have 2 appointments open with my appraiser this afternoon. I've got a 5:15 and a 5:45. Which one works better for you? See, if your team will frame the next step in a way that overcomes the objection and comes back 3 times with I have 2, I have 2, I have 2. By the 3rd time they say I have 2, 90% of people who will set an appointment have set an appointment. Now notice what I said. I didn't say 90% of people are going to set an appointment. There's some people who will not set an appointment. The guy who's 100 miles away and is just shopping you, he's not going to set an appointment. You can have no fear of loss. What you can't do is capitulate on that one guy that says, I'm not coming in till you tell me everything from beginning to end. You know what that guy is? He's not a fit, okay? He's not a fit for us. He'll come in eventually if we just tell him. If we give him everything, he'll never come in. I'm just telling you. Have no fear of loss. Now, again, I'm not saying don't give price. Let's give price. We'll give a nice competitive price and a great compelling reason to buy from us. So can your team do this? I don't know. Are they willing to follow a process? Are they willing to work hard? You know, it's hard work making 50 calls a day. It really is. It's like roofing in July. I mean, that's what kind of hard work it is because nobody wants to do it, right? We're all afraid of phone calls. Are they undeterred by rejection? And you may think, like that 20-car guy on the floor, he's undeterred by rejection. Listen to his phone calls. He will invariably say, when would you like to come in? Because when you say, when would you like to come in, you never hear no. Your team has to be prepared to hear no, right? They need to be prepared to hear no every single day because that'll get them closer to yeses. They are willing to do all this, and they can do all of this if you'll commit to the process, if you'll drive the activities, and if you'll keep them focused on the goal, right? Some groundbreaking, I put in air quotes here because it's not really groundbreaking. The way I want you to think about your digital marketing is the goal of my digital marketing is to drive leads. It's to drive conversions. Wait a minute, Steve. The goal of my digital marketing is branding and driving it. Okay. Who tells you that, by the way? That the goal of your digital, this money you're spending online is branding. Auto Trader's one of them, aren't they? Right? Where does Auto Trader brand themselves? Online? No, TV. In-stadium signage. Radio. Right? All the offline stuff. If I'm doing stuff online, it has to have a singular goal, or an overriding goal rather, of driving leads, right? Once I get a lead, the only goal of my emails and voicemails is to drive a phone call. I want you to understand that. You cannot sell the car via email, you can't sell the car via voicemail. If I leave someone's voicemail, I'm only trying to drive a phone call back. The only goal of my phone calls is to drive an appointment that shows, and the only goal of my appointments is to increase my chance of selling a car. Now, think about this when we get, say, a typical trade lead in our CRM. So I was on your website, and I submitted a lead. I say it said value your trade, so I clicked through, and I told you I had an 08 Camry, and I said I wanted a 14 RX 350 as my vehicle of interest. Right now, your team is probably focused on the new vehicle, right? They're focused on the RX 350. The way that this works is, even if I want the RX 350, you have a goal, right? Your goal of your email should get me to call you. If your email just gives me the price on the RX 350, I don't need to call you, do I? So your email should come out and say, hey, Steve, we need your Camry, call us. More words than that, but you know what I mean. If you leave me a voicemail, it's, hey, I've got a buyer for your Camry, call me back, right? And once you get me on the phone, it's, hey, we need to see your Camry ASAP, and I've got 2 appraisal times open with my appraiser this afternoon. I've got a 4:15 and a 4:45. Which one works better for you? If I want the RX 350, I'll say to you, yeah, but what about the RX 350? What's your best price on that? Say, listen, when you get here, we'll give you that, but I've got a buyer and an immediate need for your Camry, and I have 2 appraisal times open on Camrys today. I've got a 4:15 and a 4:45. Which one works better for you? If I insist, well, then you're going to give me a price. Don't get me wrong, but you've got to keep me focused on what's going to get you to the goal, right? And the goal of our email and voicemail is to get me to call you. And once you have me on the phone, the goal is an appointment that shows. Very quickly about your emails, and I know some of this goes against Toyota and how they grade you, but when I was at Asbury, we created these gigantic headers right at the top of every email, right? And it was a picture of our dealership, and it was beautiful, and it was awesome. Problem is, what, about 65% of our emails are now read on smartphones. So that means about 65% of the time, if that picture renders, it makes our text really tiny. And if the picture doesn't render, it makes it really weird looking. But more than that, virtually every email program blocks images from unknown senders. And the first time you send me an email, you're unknown to me, right? And so I don't even get to see that beautiful image. So I'm saying let's remove that image. Let's also remove links to things like inventory and specials, parts and service, hours and direction, and here's why. Steve, don't we want them to know where we're located? Absolutely we do. And if I tell them my hours and directions right there on the email or have a great link to it, they don't have to set an appointment. They can just stop in. Isn't that what we want? No. We'll close them 20% of the time if they do that. If I can get them to call me and set an appointment, I can close them 50 to 80% of the time. But what about, and parts and service is just silly. Somebody's inquired about internet and we're sending them parts and service links? That doesn't make any sense. We don't even know if they own a Toyota or a Lexus. But let's talk about inventory and specials for a moment. Steve, maybe they haven't even been to our website yet and it's beautiful, and wouldn't we want to send them into our inventory? Okay. Told you earlier we're going to treat every lead like an order. So let's take it offline. Let's go into the dealership. If it's important for everybody who's ordered a vehicle to see our specials, let's do this. Let's hire a clearance corral concierge. And her job is to walk up to people waiting to go into F&I. You know, they've done the numbers, but they haven't completed the deal yet. And before they get in the box, her job is to say, now, before you go into F&I, what I'd like to do is take you to our clearance corral so you can see all of our clearance vehicles. Wouldn't we do that? Be great, right? We'd be unwinding every single deal. They ordered the car. Let's stop giving them more choices. Let's stop making them confused about things, right? We don't want to confuse them at all. You need to reduce the length overall. The email and the way that you tell is if you print it, have your sales team, have your internet team send you every email as if you were a prospect. Then print them on a standard computer. If it prints to more than 1 page, it's too long. With signature, header, everything, it should be 1 page or less. A single call to action in our emails, and the call to action is call me. It's not reply to this email. It's not I'm here till 9, stop by and ask for me, be sure and ask for me. We want to measure and delete then all non-performing emails. If the goal of the email is to drive a phone call, if we have emails that aren't driving phone calls, let's get them out of the process. They're worthless, right? Let's move them on. From a voicemail standpoint, it's very simple. Let's keep it short and sweet. Let's try to keep it under 15 seconds. If I'm a prospect and you leave me a 2-minute voicemail, we're breaking up. I can't handle that. But I'll listen to every 15-second voicemail that you leave me. Don't do any selling. Let's create a little bit of interest. You have a clear call to action. The call to action is always the same, call me back. And this is something your sales teams don't like to do. They don't like to always leave a message, and they don't want to highlight their persistence. This is highlighting my persistence. I end each voicemail with, and don't worry if you can't get back to me right away, I'm going to try you again later. Steve, we don't want to do that, because if we do that, he won't call us back. He ain't calling you back anyway, right? So let's do this. If a lead comes in at 8:30 in the morning, let's call at 8:45, and at the end of the voicemail we say, and don't worry if you can't get back to me right away, I'm going to try again after lunch, right? And then sure enough, 12:30 we call and we leave a voicemail again. We say, hey, don't worry if you can't get back to me right away, I'm going to try again after 5 o'clock. When that guy's phone rings at 5:15, you know what he's going to do? He's going to pick it up. He's going to take our call, because we set it up by leaving a voicemail every time and highlighted our persistence. Steve, are you saying we should call 3 times the first day? Would you if I ordered the car? Sure. I ordered the car. Call me 3 times, right? There's no shame in that. Highlight your persistence every time. Now, I'm not saying call 3 times on day 10. Heck, if you can get your team to call once on day 10, you're way ahead of every other dealer. All right, let's do a couple quick voicemails just so you understand. This one will be in the process as I send you. I'm just trying to create a sense of urgency here. Hello again, Bob. Steve Stauning calling back from Century Lexus. I want to let you know that the current factory incentives on the ES350 expire soon. We're not sure what Lexus is going to do after that as the inventories appear to be coming down. Anyway, Bob, please call me back so we can look at how these incentives might make a difference. My number is, once again, that's. And don't worry, if you can't get back to me right away, I'll try you again. Thanks, and talk to you soon. So, under 15 seconds, two dynamics I want to talk about, though, on this, this voicemail. One is the incentives. At the end of the month, the incentives expire. We have to stop saying the incentives change. Change implies they might be better, right? Today's the 26th. Maybe I'll wait 5 days. We'll see what July holds. The incentives expire. And they truly can expire at any time, right? If Lexus or Toyota hits their numbers, that incentive can go away. And so we want to talk about expiring. We want to talk about them expiring soon. The second dynamic is this. This could be a be-back call or it could be an internet call. It doesn't matter. Anyway, Bob, please call me back so we can look at how these incentives might make a difference. Notice I didn't say call me back so we can schedule an appointment. People are afraid of us. It's not my job to schedule an appointment yet. It's my job to get a call back. So I'm not going to imply he has to come back into the dealership, right, if it's a be-back. Or I'm not going to imply that he has to come in to see these. Now, certainly once he calls me and we look at how these incentives might make a difference, you know, it's irresponsible for a dealer to give that information over the phone. However, I do have two, right, appointments open this afternoon. All right, here's the owner marketing. We're trying to buy back a vehicle. It's just creating a sense of interest. Hi, Bob. Steve Stauning calling from Century Toyota. My general manager asked me to call you today to see if you'd be interested in selling your Tundra back to us. We're in a pinch because we have a buyer and an immediate need, and we're having trouble locating a Tundra like yours. Anyway, Bob, please call me back so we can get your written appraisal on your truck. My number is, once again, that's. And don't worry, Bob, if you can't get back to me right away, I'll try you again later. Thanks, and talk to you soon. So again, the dynamic here is we're not telling him he has to come into the dealership for an appraisal appointment. We're saying, call me back so we can get you a written appraisal on your truck, implying maybe he can just give us 5 pieces of information. We'll go to our computer and we'll shoot him a written appraisal via email. All right? And then I'll just do one of the emails that are in the process. This one's creating a sense of shame. Remember our goal. The goal is to drive a phone call back. So this goes out about day 8 of an internet process. Hi, Bob. Checking to see if you have some time to go over your request for information on the 2014 Toyota Camry. I'm sure you're busy, but I feel like I'm being a pest since I've sent several messages and sent several emails, and yet you haven't heard back from you. If there's something I've done to offend you, please let me know, and I'll hand your folder over to another coordinator who can help. I definitely don't want to be the reason you don't buy from us. Please call and let me know either way. My number is, thanks and best wishes. Oh, they have a folder on me? The fact of the matter is that our goal of our emails is to drive a phone call. If we've been trying for 8 days, leaving voice messages and sending emails, we have to try different things. And so what we want to do in this case is shame them. This is the best email ever. I wish you could use it on day 1, because what this email will do is it'll drive people calling you, and they'll say, hey, Steve, I'm sorry, I've been busy. And the tables have turned, and you're going to say, that's okay, Bob. I have 2 priority test drives open on that Camry, right? All right. Listen, it's not about being the lowest price. If you give me a competitive price and a compelling reason to buy from you, 12% of people don't care. 12% of people will beat you to death to get the absolute lowest price. Here's the problem with your internet team. They think the other 88% is just like that 12%. They assume everybody is in that 12%. They're not. 28% of people are going to shop our prices with other sources, but 60% of consumers will stop shopping and give us a chance to earn their business if we give them a competitive price and a compelling reason to buy from us. And here's the compelling reason to buy from us. I have 2 priority test drives open on that Camry today. I've got a 515 and a 545. Which one works better for you? See, that's the compelling reason to buy from us, is I'm going to make it easy to buy. If you give me a poor quality response, 82% of consumers are going to find a different dealer or OEM or both. So it's bad enough we lose them to the other Toyota or Lexus dealer, isn't it? But if we lose them to Honda or we lose them to Mercedes, we may have lost them forever. And that's why a high quality response matters. Steve, what is a poor quality response? Well, it's no response, it's being a complete jerk, and it's giving up all the goods. Remember the dealer that prints out that great worksheet that the consultant said, you got to send this out, right? They're giving the best quality response ever, aren't they? From a consumer standpoint, don't you want to call them up and thank them? That sales team is so worried about being skated, by the way, that I had to explain to them, you should call Honda, right, and see if they'll split deals with you, because that's who's skating you, right? They're getting your worksheets. You did all the work. All right, these are the 6 processes that drive an appointment culture. These are the 6 processes that I'll send you if you send me an email. With these processes in place, if you can get your team to make 1,000 quality calls a month, they'll sell 30 cars. Now, we don't have time today to do all the math on that. Believe me, the math works. The math was right in 1985, and the math is right today. I will tell you this, you're probably thinking, Steve, our team doesn't have time to make 1,000 quality calls. I'm not talking about talking to 1,000 people. I'm talking about trying to talk to 200, 250 people, calling them 4 or 5 times in the month and leaving great voicemails each time. See, 900 of these calls are going to be voicemail. So think of it this way, it's 50 quality calls a day times 20 weekdays in a month. That gets you to your 1,000 quality calls. And we talked earlier, it only takes 2 hours to make those 50 calls. This is a key element. A key element. I cannot stress this enough of appointment cultures. Appointment cultures do not pay for passive sales. Passive sales are where we can tell someone to be sure and ask for me. And by the way, the reason your team says be sure and ask for me is they don't want to get skated. Okay? If you have that 72-hour rule, you're paying for passive sales. You're paying for me to tell people, be sure and ask for me. Someone says I can be in on Saturday morning. I say, great, be sure and ask for me. I don't actually have to set an appointment. Think about this. Without a confirmed appointment, we're lucky to sell a car. Just humor me for a minute, but let's say that there are 100 buyers out there inquiring about the Camry, the Accord, and the Altima. So there are 100 people in our market. They're interested in the Camry, the Accord, and the Altima. Now, your Honda competitor is average, and your Honda competitor sets 100 appointments with those 100 people that want the Camry, the Accord, and the Altima. And your Nissan competitor, they're average. They also set 100 appointments with those 100 people to come see their Altima. But your team doesn't set an appointment. Your team starts with, when would you like to come in? And they say, we can be in on Saturday, and your team says, great, be sure and ask for me. So those 100 people keep their appointment at Honda. If Honda is average, and I know this goes back a lot of slides, so I'll do the math for you. The average dealer closes 50% of their internet appointments at show. So Honda's average, they're going to close 50 of those 100 people who keep that appointment. That leaves 50 to go see Nissan to look at the Altima. Nissan's also average, but they have appointments. Those 50 people show up at Nissan to see the Altima. Nissan's going to sell 25. That leaves 25 to come see you. But we didn't set an appointment, did we? We said, be sure and ask for me. How many of those 25 are you going to sell? Anybody know? 5. The math doesn't change just because they've been to 2 other dealerships. The math doesn't change just because they know that your salesperson's name. But here's the key. They really don't even ask for your salesman. They show up and they say, it was some guy, and that's it. I mean, even if they say that, usually they just show up, right? We're only going to sell 5 of them. That's the opportunity that's lost by not setting the appointment. If we were first in line, if we created a sense of urgency and we said we had 2 test drives open on that Camry this afternoon, we had a 415 and a 445, which one works better for you? And we were doing the perfect appointment, we would sell 80 of those 100 people. That's what the opportunity is without spending any more money on digital marketing, without hiring any more salespeople. We can sell more vehicles to the same number of leads if we'll handle them the right way. And we got to stop paying for passive sales. So there are some key ingredients to appointment cultures that without these, you can't have it. One is you have to stop protecting passive sales. So let me give you a what about. I'm an internet salesperson on your team. I get a lead from a guy named Bob Smith. We go back and forth via email, but I finally get him on the phone, and I find out that our kids play for the same hockey team. I didn't even know this guy. But our kids knew each other, our wives knew each other, and we become fast friends. In fact, our families go on barbecues together, and we take a vacation together. We go on a Disney cruise, and both families. And Bob and I are sitting there drinking Mai Tais out of these big mugs that change color when it's cold, you know. And Mickey Mouse comes by, and we get a selfie with us and Mickey Mouse holding the big Mai Tais. And I blow this up into a poster, and I put it behind my desk. Remember, I'm a salesperson for you. And I write Bob and Steve, BFFs, on, you know, best friends forever, right there on the poster. And it's there behind my desk. And Bob comes in on my day off and asks for me and buys a car. How much of that deal should I get? Right now in your dealership, I'd get 50%, wouldn't I? I deserve 0 of that deal if you're going to have an appointment culture. Wait a minute, Steve, he only bought because of you. Okay. Anybody here have any friends who you allow at your house who don't drive a vehicle they bought from you? What? You mean you don't build rapport with them? What's wrong with you? See, your job is not to build rapport as an internet salesperson. Your job is not to go on Disney cruises. Your job is not to see them at barbecues at your house. Your job is to get appointments that show. That's what we're spending this hundreds of thousands of dollars every year in digital marketing on each dealership to get people in the door on appointments that show. We've got to stop protecting passive sales. Just because he asked for me doesn't mean I deserve that deal. If he comes in on my day off and buys a car, we were lucky, right? What if when he came in on my day off and asked for me and I wasn't there and they gave him to a junior salesperson who didn't know what he was doing? In fact, he didn't even know the difference between a Toyota and a toy Yoda, right? Right? He had no idea. and he had a booger hanging out of his nose the whole time. And Bob didn't buy. See, we get lucky that he bought it all because I didn't set an appointment with him to show. Yes, sir. You're at the gas station. So he comes down to the dealership and with my business card and asks for me. Now, I will protect, notice I said it's my day off. I will always, if the salesperson is there and someone walks in and asks for a salesperson within earshot of the receptionist or a manager, I will always marry them up with that salesperson. I want the customer to have a great customer experience. So that's not protecting a passive sale. Somebody comes in and asks for Steve Stauning, they're taken to Steve Stauning. That's as simple as that. I'm not going to give them the third degree and say, did you have an appointment with him? I don't care why they're there. They're here to see Steve Stauning. They get to see him. It's when it's the day off. So in that case, I'm sorry, I'm not going to protect that guy. He better write his hours on the back of that business card. Or if he knew we're living in an appointment culture, you know what he's going to tell them? He's going to say, call me in advance so I can schedule an appointment because it's better for you. The guy's going to say, I've bought 10 cars in my life. I've never scheduled an appointment once. He's going to say, no, you don't understand. It's better for you to set an appointment. I don't know about you, but I don't like to waste 5 hours on a car deal on a Saturday. My customers have found that if they'll set and keep appointments, we can generally do the deal in under 90 minutes. Plus, if you'll set and keep an appointment with me, I can give you my undivided attention. If you show up and I'm with another appointment, or it's my day off, you're going to get stuck with a junior salesperson, and there's no guarantee you're going to get the best deal. So please, whatever you do, call first. It's a very easy talk track. If you're going to protect me no matter what, I never have to have that discussion, do I? But if you're going to make me set appointments, then I'm going to have that discussion. So here's what I would protect. You decide. I, Steve Stauning, would probably protect same-day be-backs that showed up without an appointment. Here's why. Catching up at 9:20, I take them all the way through the process. At 11:30, they got to go have lunch and think about it. We have, the manager takes a turn. We just can't get them closed. They leave. But they come back at 1:30, and I'm on a test drive with someone else. So somebody else ups them and sells the car. So long as I have all that in the CRM, the stuff that I did from 9:20 to 11:30, I don't think there's time for me to call and set an appointment with them. So I'm going to protect same-day be-backs. Same situation, though. I caught that up on Saturday, 9:20 to 11:30. They leave. They come back on Monday. Somebody else ups them and sells a car. I get zero of that deal. Here's the reason I deserve zero of that deal. Before they left, I should have made sure they know I work by appointments only. Saturday evening, after it started to calm down, I should have called them, right? Day 1 be-back call. Then on Monday morning, I should have done my day 2 be-back call, right? If we're closed on Sunday, I'm saying. I should have made my day 2 be-back call. They should know that I work on appointments because we got lucky they bopped back into the store on Monday. We really did. If our competitor is calling their be-backs, we have almost no chance of seeing that customer. So I'll protect same-day be-backs. On prior customers, man, I'm torn. I'll protect any prior customer that asks for a salesperson by name in earshot of a manager or the receptionist. Notice I don't say other salespeople, right? I'm tired of playing this game, right? And splitting the baby all the time. On the day that the salesperson works, somebody comes in on a salesperson day off and asks for that salesperson. I can't protect that sale because we got lucky, right? We gave them, a junior person took them. That's up to you. I'm going to tell you later, I'll tell you now, though, too, don't put anything in place you're not willing to enforce. For some dealers, they only want to protect people who have sold someone 2 cars over the course of their time. Steve, they sold them the first car. They're the reason that these people came back to buy again. No, they're not. They're not. You're the reason, and your brand is the reason. And more often than not, they don't even ask for that salesperson. One of the best salespeople I know, 30-car a month guy, a guy named Bob Creed, works at a Ford store. If he sees one of his former customers working with another salesperson, he walks up to them, shakes their hand, says, hey, you may not remember me, but hey, Joe here's going to take great care of you. And Bob goes back to his office. He doesn't want a part of that deal at all. He wants zero of that deal. His argument is, if I was that good, if they really came because of me, they would have called me first, right? Bless you. Or they would have asked for me, and they wouldn't have allowed somebody else to help them. And the last one is appointments within 45 minutes. This is Store B. Store B only protects appointments within 45 minutes. Wait a minute, Steve, we have traffic here. You mean if somebody is running an hour late for an appointment, that it's open floor when that guy gets here? No. Because at the scheduled appointment time, I'm going to call them. I'm going to say, Barbara, it's Steve Stauning calling from Century Toyota. I want to make sure you're able to find our facility. She's going to say, I'm stuck in traffic. I'm going to be about an hour late. I'm going to say, great, no problem. I'm going to move your appointment from 5:15 to 6:15, and we'll still have the vehicle, clean gas, parked out front, ready to go. Da-da-da-da-da, done. and now it's a 6:15 appointment. Now I'm protected from 5:30 till 7. Any pushback on protecting prospects? This is an important piece. If you won't put this piece in place, you're store A. If you're going to protect 24 hours on an appointment, you're store A. You're just not going to be able to get appointments that show. If you stick to 45 minutes, you'll be just like store B. 90% of the people who show will show within 10 minutes of the appointment either side. Questions? All right, how about this? Sustainable pay plans. When I do 20 groups, dealers always ask me, what works best? End-to-end, end-to-end internet sales, hybrid where the floor gets the leads as well, or a BDC? And I've always said, any of the three will work as long as you support it, as long as managers you drive it. Here's my new answer, BDC, 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 BDC. I've seen hybrid sales where the floor gets everything and it's just like communism. It works great on paper, but put it in place. I haven't seen one sustain for more than 6 months. Here's why I like BDC. They're sustainable. If somebody leaves, it's no big deal because the manager's right there. We can control talk tracks. We make sure we don't give too much information because they're called appointment coordinators, right? They call up and they say, hi, I'm Steve Stauning. I'm the appointment coordinator for Century Toyota. As soon as they say that, do you know what the customer thinks? They're the appointment coordinator. They don't have any answers. People ask fewer questions. But that said, if you're going to put a BDC in place, you have to have a sustainable pay plan. What do I mean? I mean, you need to pay the BDC a flat, and you can do it on appointments or whatever. And if anybody wants a pay plan, send it to me. I'll tell you what to pay the BDC. But here's the key to the sustainable pay plan. The floor cannot get a full commission. If the BDC sets an appointment, whether it's an owner marketing appointment to an orphan owner or it's an internet customer, when that customer shows up for the appointment, whoever gets the deal deserves half a commission and either a half mark or full mark towards their volume bonus. That's your choice. You mean, wait, the guy that sold the car, Steve, and did all the work, he doesn't deserve a full deal? He didn't do all the work. He's going to close these at 80%. He did less than half the work. Case in point, about your team. I work on your team. I set an appointment for myself for 9:15 tomorrow with a customer named Barbara Jones. She's bought a couple cars from me. Tonight I get deathly ill, right? I know I can't make it to work tomorrow. I'm going to go see the doctor. I call one of my fellow salespeople on your floor. And I say, Bob, it's Steve. Hey, I got a 9:15 appointment tomorrow with Barbara Jones. Would you mind taking care of it for me? He says, yes. She shows up. He sells the car. How much of that deal does Bob think he deserves? Half. There'd be no question. Bob thinks he deserves half, right? So why is it when you put a headset on me and you make me 22 years old and you stick me up in the room upstairs, Bob suddenly feels like he deserves a full deal? The person setting the appointment that shows within 45 minutes, that's the real work, and that's called a sustainable pay plan. I used to see BDCs fail because we couldn't handle the handoff, right? Moving it from the BDC to the floor. Now BDCs fail because the comp gets out of whack. The BDC starts to grow, you hit one speed bump in your sales, right? One little dip, and they're a cost center, not a profit center, and you get rid of them. Pay the floor a half commission, your BDC can grow and stay. And the last thing, the fourth thing that you need to do is have best practice guidelines management. And there's just a few. One, on the internet side of the business, I want that 25% kept appointment rate on total leads, also known as show to lead ratio. For every 100 valid, non-duplicated leads that come in, I want to see 25 warm bodies at a minimum show up within 45 minutes of their appointment time. I want a 70% show rate on kept appointments. So no matter who's setting appointments, at a minimum, I want a 70% rate. Steve, what about the 80/80 stores? Well, that's where we're great. This is the minimum, right? We should be getting a 70% minimum. I want a 60% sold rate on all kept appointments. And just do the math real quick. That means for every 100 valid appointments I set, I'm going to sell 42 vehicles, right? So I still have room for improvement. That's why these are minimums. And no past due activities. Now, I told you earlier the two rules on that. Don't put anything in place you're not willing to enforce. All right, process, strict adherence to process, that's what gets people in the door, right? The email templates, the voicemail scripts, the talk tracks, your team having the discipline, right, to try to set appointments the right way, and then you holding them accountable. And strict adherence to process, that's what closes people, and that's the perfect appointment. There are 4 steps to the perfect appointment, and the first step is 100% on your sales team, and it's called strong appointment setting. The goal is an appointment that shows, but that takes discipline. Case in point, I tell Barbara Jones, I do it the right way. I say, I've got 2 test drives open on that Camry this evening. I've got a 515 and a 545. Which works better for you? Invariably, people are going to say, well, I don't know when I can come in. How late y'all open? If your team doesn't have the discipline and they just say we're open until 9, she's never going to show. The goal is an appointment that shows. So when she says, I don't know when I can come in, how late y'all open, we need to answer, well, ma'am, we're open till 9 o'clock, but my last test drive on that Camry is for 7:15. Now I have a 6:45 and a 7:15. Which one works better for you? Again, people will do what we tell them. All appointments should be set for less than 48 hours away. The best way to think of that is today and tomorrow. If I'm a salesperson, I'm only setting appointments for today and tomorrow. That's it. Now, that takes discipline. Here's a case in point. I'm calling a guy on Monday, owner marketing, and I say, hey, Bob, Steve Stauning calling from Century Toyota. I've got a buyer in immediate need for your 2012 Tundra, and he's interested. He gets excited. He says, you know, I was thinking of trading in my Tundra. I'm absolutely all about this. I can be there on Saturday. What time do you open? Now, remember, I said it's Monday. Takes discipline to say, Bob, that's okay. I have an immediate need for Tundras, and I have 10 more Tundra owners on my list to call today. If I can't get one of them to sell me their Tundra today or tomorrow, I'm going to call you on Friday to schedule that Saturday appointment. Wait a minute, Steve, you're going to give up the Saturday appointment he was willing to set? Okay, today's Monday. I just gave the guy new car fever, and he has an appointment with me at 9:15 a.m. Saturday. If he has new car fever on Monday, what does he do between Monday and Saturday? He shops. Where doesn't he shop? Right. Well, why doesn't he shop with us? Because he has a 9:15 appointment. He thinks he's coming in at 9:15. He's an honorable guy, right? I'm the one that offered to buy his truck. He's going to keep his word to me. He walks into every dealership all week doing the Heisman Trophy pose. I'm not here to buy. I'm just looking, right? Puts that hand right up in their face. We ever sold anybody starts like this? Yeah. About 90% of the people we sell say, I'm not here. He's going to run into a salesman. Our goal is an appointment that shows, right? If I let him set that Saturday appointment, I'm done. I'm absolutely done. Forget it. He ain't showing. So what I need to do is tamp down his new car fever. Now, more often than not, when I tell him I've got 10 more Tundra owners on my list to call today, he'll say, I can be in tomorrow. I'll say, great, you just saved me 10 calls. Now, I've got a 9:15 and a 9:45. Which one works better for you, right? But let's say he works out of town, or let's say he's out of town. I happen to get him on his cell phone. He doesn't come back till Friday night. Steve, wouldn't we set the appointment then? No, I don't want him shopping all week on the computer either. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a note in the CRM to call him Friday about 6:30 at night and set that 9:15 Saturday appointment when it's too late for him to do a ton of shopping. My goal is an appointment that shows, and it has to be within 48 hours, today or tomorrow only. Now, in order to be a strong appointment, appointments require 3 things: a specific date and time, a specific goal, and a mental and verbal commitment by the prospect. That mental commitment is what that woman has with her nail salon. That mental commitment is what I have with the dentist office. And we get that mental commitment by doing the recap that we did earlier. So, Barbara Jones has agreed to test drive that 14 Camry tonight at 5:15. I need to say, great, Barbara. Just to recap, we're going to see you tonight at 5:15 to test drive the 2014 Toyota Camry. Now, Barbara, I'm going to get that Camry cleaned, gas, parked out front, ready to go. So when you arrive for your 5:15 test drive, you're in and out and on the road within 5 minutes. Now, Barbara, if anything happens to us with that Camry, I'm going to be sure and call you well in advance so you don't waste a trip down here. And all I would ask from you is that you show us the same courtesy. So can I count on you for today at 5:15? Again, if she says yes to that, it's an 80% show. This takes discipline to do the recap. I'm telling you, your team thinks they got to get off the phone, and that's not their goal. Their goal is an appointment that shows. Any questions on strong appointment setting? Yes, sir.
Few cars, you've got 20 of the same exact model, but only are you building 20 hours.
So new cars, you've got 20 of the same.
Yeah, you've got an abundance inventory.
Right.
You've got to build that same urgency.
How are you going to build that same urgency? Well, the only urgency I built on that new car is I have 2 test drives open on that Camry, right? You can say I have 2 test drives on Camrys this afternoon. The point is, people are trying to buy a car. They're trying to make it easy for them. It's not necessarily easy to set the sense of urgency. Now, if it's on a specific stock number, I do. I say I have 2 test drives open on that Camry this afternoon. We've got a 5:15 and a 5:45, which works better for you, okay? I mean, it's easier, obviously, on used cars. The fact of the matter is, the urgency that we're building there, they didn't ask if it was in stock. This was an outbound call, right, that somebody, inquired about the Camry. If somebody calls in about a specific unit, I'm going to set the appointment. But I'm going to say I have 2 test drives open on that. What we're trying to do is put a picture in their mind that there are people lining up, that there's some structure to this, and that it's a priority test drive, right? That's the piece that we're trying to put in their mind. All right, any other? Yes, sir.
People are busy. The chances that you are able to pick a time with the dual choice that actually works for them is probably difficult. So how do you follow up if the 2 choices don't work? You give them the next day, the next day.
Right, so people are busy. and it's sometimes hard to connect and get the choices to line up. Here's the problem. If you say, when would you like to come in, or you say, what works better, morning or afternoon? You know, I know I've seen some old OEM training, not this OEM, but others, that want you to just narrow down to a time. The appointment time is less important to them. So it's actually 11:22 right now. If I was in the dealership and I took a call, I would probably say my next 2 test drives open on that Camry are for 12:15 and 12:45. I generally pick a time an hour from now and about an hour and a half from now on the 15s and 45s. Steve, what if they're at work? Guess what? They'll say, I'm at work, I can't be there till after 5. And then I'm going to say, great, I've got a 5:15 and a 5:45, which one works better for you? If somebody says, I'm out of town, I can't be there until tomorrow, I'm going to say, great, I've got a 9:15 and a 9:45, which works better for you? And they say, I work tomorrow, I can't get off till 5. Great, I've got a 5:15 and a 5:45, which one works better for you? Fact is that's the way we handle it. We don't try to narrow it down. Let me give you an example. I want your team to be selfish. Because if they're selfish, they make more money. And if they're selfish, you sell more vehicles. And if they're selfish, customers are happier, right? Because they get to buy from you in a perfect appointment situation. But this is a true story that my dental receptionist, I told you I live in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I told you I moved there in July 2010. The first time I went to the dentist, she did the same thing that I told you. You know, she said, how does December 26th work? You know, how's 9:15? And it worked. But when I went to that appointment and she said, how does June 26th work? I said, it works great, but I didn't quite get to the day yet. And she said, how's 9:15? And I realized I actually had the morning blocked for an appointment or something. And I said, oh, you know what? I actually can't be here till early afternoon. She said, I have a 12:15 and a 1:45. Which one works better for you? And I said, turn your computer around, right? And with hesitation, she turned her computer around. Her day was completely empty. June 26th was wide open. See, I thought, that's weird. I'm the first appointment of the day. What do you mean you got a 12:15 and a 1:45? And I said, how come you just didn't say what time works for you? And she said, listen, and at this point she'd been doing it 18 years. She said, I've been at this dentist office for 18 years. And when people came from the back, I used to say, when would you like to come back? And she said, I got so tired of hearing, never. Because we all think we're the first one to ever say that, right? It's a dentist office, when you want to come back, never. She said, I started picking times for people, but then I would do morning or afternoon, and she said it'd take 5 or 6 minutes to come up with a time that works for everybody. It's quicker, and you're more likely to keep the appointment if you think we're busy like that. And I said, well, still, I mean, why didn't you just say the whole afternoon open, what works? And she said, because you'd have said 3:15. I said, yeah, and she said, we close at 3:30. Our last appointment for the day is 2:45, and I have to tell you that. See, she's selfish, but she's nice, right? I want your team to be selfish. If you do the narrow down, it takes longer, and I'm less likely to show. So pick times for me. And you know what, by the way, I'll tell you, if you're picking times for me and none of those work, it's not like I'm going to go, no, no, no. I'm going to tell you, I'm at work. I can't be there till after 5. You're going to say, great, I've got a 5:15 and a 5:45. Which one works better for you? Does that make sense? All right. Second step of the perfect appointment is appropriate appointment confirmation. Again, the goal is an appointment that shows. This one's 100% on your managers. Your managers should make the confirmation call. The reason is they will uncover soft appointment setting right away. They'll call Barbara Jones. They'll say, Barbara, it's Steve Stauning. I'm the sales manager here at Century Toyota. I'm calling to confirm your 5:15 test drive. I can't wait to meet you. 5:15, right? What are you talking about? I just told the guy I'd be in tonight, right? Suddenly we start to uncover the soft appointment setting. That's why managers should make the call. But they need to use their gut. They can't spam. I count a good, well-crafted voicemail as a confirmation. I was at a dealer 2 weeks ago who had been to the training before, and he said, Steve, those email or those voicemail confirmations don't work. I said, what do you mean? He said, we left this woman 9 voicemails and she didn't show up. I said, 9? You scared her away. 1 voicemail, 2 to 4 business hours before the appointment. That's all we need to do. But not every appointment even needs a confirmation. For example, someone is 30 minutes away, they're in their car, they're calling ahead to make sure the vehicle's there. We're still going to set the appointment. We're still going to get it ready. We're going to do all the other steps of the perfect appointment, but it's a little silly if the manager calls 10 minutes later to verify the appointment, right? If we know they're on their way, we're just going to mark in the CRM, we've confirmed it, customer on the way. Now, the voicemail confirmation is just like in person. We're going to do a thank you with the particulars. So I get Barbara Jones' voicemail. I say, Barbara, this is Steve Stauning. I'm the sales manager here at Century Toyota. I understand I get a chance to meet you tonight at 5:15. That's great. I want to thank you for considering us. Now, I know that Bob may have told you, but we're going to have your Camry clean gas parked out front, ready to go. So when you arrive, you're in and out and on your test drive within 5 minutes. And Barbara, if anything happens to us, Bob or that Camry, we're going to call you well in advance so you don't waste a trip down here. I would hope you could show us the same courtesy. So again, I look forward to meeting you tonight at 5:15. My name's Steve Stauning. Bye-bye. That's it. See, we're going to make the customer feel guilty if they no-show. 2 people have told her all the things we're going to do to get ready for that appointment. She is going to call us in advance if she can't make it. I'm telling you she will. You get an 80% show nonetheless. But because we made her feel guilty if she no-shows, we need to investigate no-shows at the scheduled appointment time. Because let's say she had a 3:15 with us today, she completely forgot. And you wait till tomorrow to call her. And tomorrow she sees your dealership on her phone, right? She sees your number on an inbound call, and she forgot. She ain't taking that call. She's embarrassed. She knew we did everything to get ready. But if we call her right at 3:15, she's going to pick up the phone and go, oh, Steve, I'm sorry, I forgot, right? And now we've got a chance to save it. 4:15, 5:45, something. We have a chance. The other reason you want to call at the scheduled appointment time, and you're not going to call and say, where the hell are you? I mean, you're going to be nice. You're going to say, Barbara, it's Steve from Century Toyota. I want to make sure you're able to find our facility. And again, she's going to say, I'm up the street, I'm stuck in traffic, or she might say, I'm stuck in the box at Honda, right? And that doesn't mean she's in an old element. It means she's about to sign some paperwork. This is our only chance to save this deal. We need to do it. We can't wait an hour. We're going to call at the scheduled appointment time. Now, your team is more likely to call at the scheduled appointment time if they know she's only a protected prospect for 45 minutes each way. You won't even have to prompt them to make the call. At 3:15, you're going to look over at Bob, wanting to know if he's going to call Barbara. He's going to be on the phone, right at 3:15. Questions about appropriate appointment confirmation? All right, pre-appointment prep is the 3rd step of the perfect appointment. This is where dealers fall apart. I'm just going to tell you now. Getting the vehicle clean, gas, parked out front, ready to go, 30 to 45 minutes before the customer arrives is work. This is physical labor. And your team will need to be forced to do this for a while. But you know what? It has a tremendous impact on the customer if they can be on the test drive within 5 minutes. Now, what I like is to create an area called sold vehicles only with signs about 7 feet in the air that say sold vehicles only, and the vehicle's backed in to that area, and there's a hang tag in the vehicle that says reserved for Barbara Jones. There is an ownership that happens in her mind when she walks up to that vehicle and sees sold vehicles only, reserved for Barbara Jones. Sometimes they think, uh-oh, did I click the wrong thing on the website? Did I accidentally buy this? In 1985, we had that area, and it wasn't our delivery area. It's where we brought test drives back, right? Go ahead and park it in the sold vehicles only, sir, so no one will take your Camry. I sell Dodges, but we'll say it was a Camry. People take ownership when you have the sold vehicles only area. Now, when I say the vehicle's cleaned, I mean better than dealer clean. We can't have that little bit of dust and watermarks on it, but I don't mean detailed. Let's run it through the car wash. If it's a sales manager's demo, let's go ahead and get the McDonald's bags out of the back seat, right? When I say gassed, I don't mean full of gas, but the light can't come on during the test drive. Just use that as your litmus. We can't have the light come on during the test drive. And when I say parked in a designated area, I want it away from the other vehicles because I don't need her getting car drunk, right? She's coming in to look at a mid-level Camry. We walk her past the Ultima Limit or the Avalon Limited, and she says, "Oh, leather. Oh, a sunroof," right? And your team thinks, "Cha-ching, cha-ching." No. Think of this. When she comes in for a VIP appointment, she has a meter on her head, and it's at 80%. I'm going to close her at 80%. Every step that we treat her like a traditional up, like try to put her on a different vehicle, just comes down. We're going to sell them less often. Now, the reason we do it 30 to 45 minutes before is in case she's early. Has your team ever done this? They're pushing the jumper box. "Hey, Barbara, going to get your Camry," right? See, we don't think anything of it because the car's sat for 45 days. It needs to be jumped, right? But she's picturing herself stuck on I-5, right, in rush hour traffic. And we got to get beyond that with her. Now, when you get really good, you can do VIP parking with signs, a place for her to park when she gets there. This is tough to do. About 90% of the dealers that put in VIP parking screw it up. I'll show up for my repeat visit to the dealership, and the names will be illegible because they've been using the wrong kind of marker on it, right, instead of dry erase, and you can't read a thing, and they've got yesterday's trades still parked there, and the whole area is dirty and cluttered. Put that in place a year after putting the appointment culture in place. Then you get good at it. All right, we're going to do the deal jacket in advance with VIP in large letters in color, and the keys are going to be with the jacket, and the jacket's going to be at the desk. Wait a minute, Steve, we're going to print a piece of paper and stick it to the deal jacket in a little hokey? No, this is huge. We had a dealership that was doing this in black and white, and they were closing pretty good, about 60% of their appointments it showed. They went to color, And while they're now at 80% appointments that showed close, I don't want to give it all to the jacket, but I will tell you the first time that they did it, I'm standing at the desk while their sales manager, Charles, is talking to a customer, ready to hand the jacket off to the salesperson, and she leans in and she said, "I've never been a VIP before." Bless her heart. You know why she's a VIP? Because it says it right there, VIP. It's the craziest thing. The dealer who came up with this, they used to write on the front of the jacket, VIP and all that. And the problem was the girls in accounting got mad because they had to turn the jackets around, right? And you know it's all about the girls in accounting, right? It's not about our sales teams. So he came up with this. Now they're mad they have to tear it off, but anyway. When he came up with this, he's a guy that talks with his hands. Customers' eyes are following the jacket. So now he does, now he plays games with it, like sees where, if he can get their eyes to follow it everywhere. This seems like a silly step. It's gigantic. It's gigantic. So the keys are with the jacket, and this is at the desk. The reason it's at the desk is we need the customer to meet the manager in the fourth step. And it's a little hokey if I've got this at my desk and I up Barbara Jones, right? And I say, before we go on the test drive, "Hey, let's go meet the manager." She'd be like, I don't want to meet your manager. We need them to meet the manager. We're going to break down barriers. People are more likely to take first pencil if they've met the manager. And we keep it a VIP experience by saying, "Let's go get the keys to your Camry." Now, we want the managers to memorize as many details as possible. And if you have a BDC setting appointments for the floor, the rep should memorize them as well. So I look at the jacket, 5:15, Barbara Jones coming in on a 14 Camry. She's got an 08 Taurus to trade. At 5:05, a woman pulls up in a Taurus. I don't know what year, they all look alike, right? I'm going to give her in-store VIP treatment. What if I'm the sales manager and I run out there and I walk up to the car and I open up her door and I say, "Are you Barbara Jones?" She says, "Yes, I am." I said, "I'm Steve Stauning. I'm the sales manager here. We are so glad you're here. Come on, let's go get the keys to your Camry." Would that be different than she's treated today? Anywhere. She's not greeted by her name anywhere. I'm a manager who just greeted her by her name on a dealer's lot, and I got to do a trial close, right? Let's go get the keys to your Camry. I'm going to walk her to the desk, but I'm not going to ask her any road to the sale questions. I'm not going to ask her what it is she likes about the Camry. Is it the body style, the pricing? Have there been any other vehicles she's looked at? Have you ever been to our lot before? None of that. In fact, it's going to be a done deal attitude. Anything I say is going to be a trial close. Now, let's say the salesperson brought her to the desk to get the keys. I'm going to shake her hand. "Barbara, we're so glad you're here. You know Bob, he's our product specialist on the Camry," and I'll hand Bob the folder as well. And I'll say, "When you get back from your, if you like the Camry, when you get back from your test drive, we'll go ahead and do the numbers." See, there's another trial close. I just did an assumptive close. She assumes that when we get back from the test drive, we're going to start doing numbers. And our goal is in and out in 90 minutes, so we're going to do the appraisal during the test drive so that when she comes back, we're ready to present numbers right now. And if she's an internet customer, we've already given her a price, she will take our first pencil as long as it's that price. I'm telling you, we call it a fair pencil. She'll take that as long as it's the price that we've already agreed to. Those are the 4 steps of the perfect appointment. And some of you are like, "Man, Steve, some of this is really good. There are bits and pieces I'm going to take back to my dealership." That's all right. If you don't think all this is necessary, just realize it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? "Hey, Steve, we're kind of average." Actually, you know what? Let's be honest. "Steve, we're kind of below average. I think we're going to be there." It's all right. You'll be wherever you want to be. Because every step that you cheat, shortchange, or shortcut makes your VIP feel more like a traditional up. It really is up to you. So I hope you enjoyed today, and I hope you want to reinforce today's training. The reason you have the stevestauning.com business card is because that's where all of this training is for free. There's a talk track class on there called Creating an Appointment Culture. I would make my team watch it. It's 17 parts. It takes about an hour. The class we just did, there's a 2-hour version online. We don't do the rules and stuff that we did in here about protected prospects, well, at least not enough that's going to scare your sales team. But you need to go, you can send them to go watch that class. You can send your managers to go watch a class called Leading an Appointment Culture, which is how they can use the CRM and management by walking around to actually manage the appointment culture. Now, the reason that my Twitter link is up there and LinkedIn and YouTube is because if you want to know when I post new training to stevestauning.com and you don't want to have to keep coming back and checking, if you'll follow me on Twitter, you'll know. However, they're not all business tweets. Some of them are really funny to me and nobody else. LinkedIn is a terrible way to keep up with people for some reason. I love LinkedIn, but if you want to know when I post new training, you're probably not going to want to check back on LinkedIn every day. If you'll subscribe to my YouTube channel, it will send you an email when I post a new video. And I don't post, vacation videos or, anything like that. It's just all free training videos. So that's probably the best way to stay on top of what I post on stevestauning.com. So, where's my Facebook? I got rid of Facebook years ago. I really did. I'm not on Facebook. It was creepy to me. I'm sorry. I'm on Twitter. That's enough. Not on Facebook. I'm on Google+. Besides Facebook, any other questions? I hope you found this valuable. Was it? We going to be put in place? Thank you. And what never happens in these trainings is getting out of any one of these early, but we are. So, all right.
Very nice job.
Thanks, Dan.
Check, check. All right, one more round of applause for Steve, guys.
Thank you.
Very, very nice job. So hopefully now you can see why we chose Steve to come in and present on a very touchy subject. I mean, let's just face it, right? I mean, all of our previous learning labs have been very sexy. We're talking about new technologies. We're talking about advertising. We're talking about websites, the flashy things, right? Steve gets in. He gets his his sleeves rolled up, and he really helps us with what's most important, really handling the leads that, again, are precious to us because they're worth a lot of money and they cost a lot of money to generate. So just a quick poll of hands. Again, we're not shy in this group. We're all close here. How many folks in the room wrote a couple of nuggets down that they absolutely plan to implement tomorrow?
Tomorrow. Good.
Outstanding. Okay. We will have a panel discussion at the end of the day, so you will have another chance to ping Steve, certainly at lunch, pick his brain as well. A very valuable resource. But before I let Steve go, any questions while it's fresh on top of your mind?
Back there.
Sandra's got something. Yeah, hang on one sec. Yeah.
We can send you the email to get the tracks, right?
Yeah, if you send me an email, am I on? If you send me an email, I will send you those 6 processes plus some owner marketing and generic talk tracks. You know, when you call someone and say, I got a buyer and immediate need for your Tundra, you'll hear things like, what am I supposed to drive home? What are you going to give me? And so I have the responses for that. Whether or not your team follows them, you know, I don't know. Keep to the goal. You know, one of the things about appointments, by the way, put those rules in place, the 45-minute rule on appointments, stop protecting passive sales. You almost don't have to listen to people's calls anymore, right? By the way, and my goal is to get rid of skating in your store. What I mean by that is, aren't you tired of splitting the baby? Aren't you tired of rewarding the skater with half the deal? It's like a bank robber getting caught by the FBI, given half the booty and sent on his way. I mean, if we stop protecting passive prospects, we don't have skating anymore, because we're going to protect every appointment within 45 minutes. If Barbara Jones arrives in that 1 hour and a half time frame and somebody else sells her a car besides me, guess what I get? I get 100%. I set the appointment. That guy just did all that work for free. And I don't want to hear that she didn't say she had an appointment, because if you have an appointment culture, your team knows the appointment board. They know what's coming up next. Everybody's aware of it.
So just a quick quiz, folks. Steve mentioned early on in the presentation that about an average close rate is at the 20% mark. Steve, what would you say a close rate is as far as the lead before they come into the store?
Close rate? Oh, well, I can tell you what the national average is on leads. We did a study, David Kane and I did. I don't know if you know David from Kane Automotive. But David and I did a study in 2011 that we looked for a year at top stores, and we looked at average lead closing, and it was about 6.8%. The average dealer closed about 6.8 of their total mix of leads. You know, obviously, you know, your website leads close at a high rate, and AutoTrader and others, and then it goes down from there. But the point is that it's about 6.8% is the average closing percentage. If you follow, you know, if you get a 25% show to lead ratio and just close 50% of those people who show, that's a 12.5% closing ratio. And that's simple to do. That's why I have it at 60% as my best practice guideline on closes.
So the San Francisco region measures the brand website leads that Toyota.com and BuyAToyota.com primarily send to your stores. Does anybody know where we are collectively as an average dealer body within the San Francisco region? What is our close rate? Anybody know the answer?
5%.
Any other guesses? 9.4. Very good. You guys actually might be right up 9.8, Mike. So 9.4% on our Glengarry leads, right? Basically the best leads. Just second to your own website leads and our TFS leads. 9.4. Anybody agree that there's some opportunity for improvement here?
Before food.
Can we get to 10?
Maybe before the food.
Can we get to 12? Brianna, where do we want to be?
Where's LA? Hey Dan, where's LA?
I'm going to have to let Amit speak for the LA region. 8.3. Brianna, where are we headed?
Can't believe you let LA speak first.
I know,
I may
I know.
not answer right now.
We didn't give him a mic.
Huh?
We didn't
That's
give
true.
him
He doesn't have a mic. Yeah, you guys. I mean, you think about it when you're talking about this. It's so low, and the sky's the limit. I mean, you just said right there. I mean, we set goals every year, 10%, 20%. I mean, this is something that's near and dear to us, as you hear us on the conference calls every month talk about the drive to 105. We can get there. We've got the traffic out there. We have the traffic now. We have the traffic the past 5 months. We have the traffic in June, but we need to close all those leads. So I don't want to give out a number because I don't want you guys to stop at the number, right? What you
Absolutely.
said before, Steve, when you said two leads per day. No, Dan's, no.
100%.
Love it. Right, so 9.4%, as Brianna said, there's absolutely no limit to where we can get to. Putting it into real terms, 9.4% means what? That means 90 out of every 100 people that send us a lead are not buying from us, right? Not buying from our stores. We can absolutely do better there. So if we shoot for 12%, which doesn't seem like a lot, but really we're going to increase our total sales by 30% without having to spend more money on marketing, without having to drive more people to our website. This is just doing better with the leads that we have. To kind of take a page out of the LA region's book, we're going to squeeze more out of the lemons that we've got sitting in our CRM, right? And so I'm really, really glad that Steve reinforced a lot of the things that we've been kind of preaching for quite some time now in terms of really making sure that we set the appointment, really making sure that we hold our sales managers accountable, to hold our sales folks accountable for making those actual appointments and making sure that they show. So I think we can absolutely do that. Really, ultimately, though, it's going to be up to the folks sitting in this room to instill that, to weave that into the fabric of the culture of your stores. As Steve said, this can't be a Toyota process. This can't be a Steve process. This has to be your process. It has to be part of the culture there. So if you want help with that, we have tremendous amount of resources available through the LA region, including folks like Steve and other very, very bright individuals who can do that.
Dan,
And?
you're in San Francisco. Little faux pas.
What'd I say?
LA region.
You said LA region. You guys wave goodbye to Dan. You're not going to see him next quarter.
I'm just going to drop the mic right now. Right now. So I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I just had a newborn son, so I can't wait to get home. I live in LA, so there's my excuse right there. You like that? You like that? Any other questions on that note? Okay, so listen, folks, we are well ahead of schedule. Thank you, Steve, for keeping us on pace. That was awesome. I think everybody would agree that was 3 hours well spent, even though this is a very, very expensive room of folks we have in our audience. I would do it again in a heartbeat, and hopefully all the folks, including management, agree with that. We have some time before lunch is served, so please take advantage again of Steve, as well as our partners from Goobagoo and the other presenters who are already in the room. By the way, Goobagoo is the provider for Dave Smith Motors, which is very interesting, nice correlation there. We were chatting as Steve was kind of going through some of his best practices. They almost perfectly align there. So make sure that you connect with the partners in the back if you want some ideas on how to really start implementing some of the best practices that Steve talked us through. And again, we'll have lunch in about 15 minutes, so make yourselves comfortable. We'll grab lunch and we'll get right back after it at about 1 o'clock. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.